has been sent.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 110 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports podcast. Here for you on another Wednesday night, 7:20 p.m. on the dot. It's all football tonight. After we get some moments of the week and a couple quick NHL notes, as you know, like I did last week, throw a couple NHL notes in the moments of the week since we don't have an NHL segment. It's all football this week for the most part. Before we get to moments of the week, Ryan, how are we feeling on this Wednesday night?
I'm doing good. I'm finally ready to get back into the football talk. It's been a while. Obviously, like I tweeted out, one of the more fun shows that we do with all the predictions and stuff that we totally 100% get right. We're never wrong with these things. Looking back, I didn't pick the Bengals last year to go like 4-12 or 4-13 and not make the playoffs. Totally right on that pick. So yeah, it's good. Nobody hopefully can flame us in the comments if anybody wants to do their own predictions and like I said, predict the season along with us, but should be good like it always is.
Yeah, it should be. It certainly should be. As we're going to have a little echo here, maybe. Nope, turn the volume down. Just firing up the Twitter stream here to see if anybody does decide to roast us in the comments, as I invited them to, because there might be reasons to be roasted. But before we get to football real quick, moments of the week for me, it came last night. You want to go first, actually, right? You said?
Yeah, because mine kind of ties in or leads into yours. I just, like you said, it's mostly football today. So I thought obviously the Red Sox, they made a big move. We'll get that out of the way in the moments of the week. And it's good that, you know, this crazy moment happened last night that you can jump in on when it comes time. But my moment of the week, obviously the one with the Red Sox, they finally call up Tristan Casas. You and I have been begging, pleading, crying for it all season. It finally happens. The flip side of it too, the demotion that comes with it is Bobby Dahlbeck is no longer here. So that's an even bigger plus than just Casas being here by himself. He's looked okay. He's looked like a rookie so far. He's had a couple of balls that have been hit hard, but haven't gone his way. Picked up a couple of hits. Had a home run last night. That, of course, was probably the most interesting moment of the game last night. Like I said, you'll have to get to in a second. But just like I said, it gives you something to watch with the Red Sox, who are probably out of a postseason hunt. They maybe still think they're in it, but you and I know we have brains. They're not. So it gives you something to watch. You know, Casas is here. Brian Bayo has finally looked a little better when it comes to pitching. So you have a couple of young guys that you can maybe look forward to watching the rest of the season, and hopefully, you know, are a major league roster part going into next year's season.
Yep, credit to me. I watched one Tristan Casas game. He hits home run in his first at bat. So
there you go.
There we go. Just all me. Thanks. Just want to say
what about that home run?
Hola to Donna Ruiz in the chat, watching on Facebook. Thanks for watching. I mean, one thing I noticed, plate discipline is something he's going to have to work on the MLB level. Some check swings, you know, a couple strikeouts, I think he had 2. So he'll figure things out. It's, you know, not been a sparkling start so far, but like he'll get comfortable. I mean, just look at that towering home run last night. The kid's got the size and the power to get up and get those high fastballs and whatnot. Hit a big time home run. So very excited about Tristan Casas. Awesome to see him get called up and take advantage. I assume he'll be here for the rest of the season. So that's fantastic. The one thing that, like, of course this has to happen, that I didn't like about it was the douchebag Jordan, who's the fan's name, who drove this hard bargain for the ball. He got a cautious signed bat, a Bogart signed ball, and something else, which is fine. Like you want to bargain a little bit, but like I didn't like the vibes.
I was just gonna say the vibes are not good. Yep.
He just seemed like this sloppy doofus in the stands. He's a White Sox fan at a Rays game. Like, yeah, White Sox fan. Let me just go see the worst baseball park in the world. Like, come on.
Just check that one off the bucket list. You knew the interview.
It's the worst. I need to hop on my soapbox. He's talking to Jemai Webster about, I'm going to go viral or something.
That's how you knew it was going to be bad as soon as it started with that. Yep.
God, I just knew it. This fat tub of whale shit talking about chicken wings and French fries, doesn't eat the fries. I don't believe that.
Psycho move again.
It's also bizarre. Yep. You're getting chicken wings and fries, which probably cost like $14, $15, and you're not eating one of the things you ordered. Like, stupid.
Makes
not
no
financially
sense.
feasible. Talking like he's like calling his fiance friends. Like, dude, just like give up the fucking ball. Give him this hard bargain. He's like, oh, I tried to walk over to the dugout and hand it to them, and was surprised that he was asked not to do that. Like,
please don't approach. Because The dugout, the players, you're not allowed to do that. Yeah.
Like, they're right. You could easily be just, wandering over to the dugout and leave and just the Red Sox get fucked.
Yep,
like,
you get nothing out of that.
Yeah, like, it's just, I hate shit like this. I hate adults who are so attached to fucking baseballs. It's so goddamn dorky to me. I really do. Like, if you're one of these people that doesn't make a huge scene about it, you just do it every once in a while, fine. These people that are like getting in kids' ways and being obnoxious about it, Zach Hampel, number one.
I was just gonna say that. I couldn't think of the guy's name, but knew exactly who he was.
Yeah. I saw a Tinder profile screenshot of him, and there's just no way it's real. I really hope it's not real, because I'd be in disbelief that somebody like that can exist. I hate shit like this so much. I hate the people that just can't read the room either. Like Zach Hampel, that video he put out about the Rockies too. Like,
so cringy. Like,
so
I couldn't even get through
both videos.
2 minutes of watching that. Yeah.
And then like this shit, like driving a hard bargain, like get the shit, say yes, hand over the ball, it's over. Like it's so easy.
It's not that hard, yeah.
Like, he didn't even know who hit the home run. They asked, who hit the home run? He's like, I don't know.
That's what I was gonna say.
You don't care about it that much.
Exactly.
You're just greedy. You don't care about it that much.
Didn't know who hit the home run. When he starts rattling off what they gave him, and he goes, Costas, I think I got his bat, like you said, Bogart's the signed ball, and somebody else. And then the somebody else turns out to be the best player on the team, Endeavors. Like, how do you not know? Again, like you said, it's a White Sox fan incognito at a Rays game for some reason. That was the start. And like I said, as soon as he starts off the interview with, I'm going to be famous in Boston. Like, buddy, shut the fuck up and just, like you said, hand the ball over, get your he got it, your 5 minutes of fame and get the hell out of there. Like, kudos to Jemai Webster for having to deal with that idiot. Like, I would not want to have had to have done that interview. I think Scott Bradford was up there too doing an interview with him. So Rob Bradford, thank you. I said Scott Bradford earlier today too to somebody. I don't know why that's on my mind.
Bradford, great guy.
Yep. Absolutely. But there's kudos to the both of them for having to stick it out with that moron and deal with that, because I can't imagine it was a great experience for multiple reasons.
No, God, no. But enough of a baseball soapbox. We do have the main event. Look, we've talked in the past, like sometimes our predictions are pretty similar, but this year they're not.
No, a lot of different ones I noticed in the outline, which is good because it's boring.
They're not.
Like, everyone's going to go the same record and it's going to be a solid year all around, but
it's going to be awesome. Like this is just going to be a fun discussion. As the outline goes, I guess we'll start with Patriots first, our Patriots specific stuff. And with week one, which we'll talk a little, do we want to save week one for like the details later? Yeah, we'll do that. But we'll just say winners first. I have Miami taking week one for the Patriots.
I do as well. So there we go. We're off to a good start. We both have the Patriots going 0-1 because they can't win in South Beach for some reason, no matter how early they go down there, what the offense looks like, what the team looks like. It's just some sort of bugaboo for that team. They can't do it in Miami. They don't do it again. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe, it'll take a couple games for the Dolphins to, get accustomed to the new head coach and figure some things out. So maybe the Patriots sneak away with one, but on the flip side of that, you have maybe the Dolphins are energized. Tyreek Hill, his first game there, new look offense, new look team again with the head coach. So I think Miami's going to be jazzed up. They're going to take it.
Yeah, and I mean, we have a very new look secondary. First regular season reps against Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
It's not a recipe for success.
I've felt confident about. I wasn't a huge believer in the whole Miami thing early in the season, years past, but this year with Waddle and Hill, Tua is Tua. We'll see what happens with him this season. I am leaning towards the Dolphins here. Hope I'm wrong. Week two, I do have them rebounding though with a win over the Steelers.
I do as well. I've said it multiple times. I don't trust Mitch Trubisky. Like, Pittsburgh's offense is good. Najee Harris could absolutely run all over the Patriots. You could have the same problem you have that you're going to have in the Miami game. Who covers Claypool? Who covers Johnson if he plays? Pickens has had a great camp. Yeah, he's had a great camp.
Calvin Austin out of Memphis is a super, not like super undersized, but fairly undersized, wicked, speedy receiver. You have to deal with him. And Pat Freiermuth. I think poised for a breakout season. So
absolutely, all solid weapons. But again, it comes down to the quarterback. I think the Patriots find a way to mess with Mitch Trubisky because I think he's an easy guy to do that too. And plus, to spoil it, I can't have the Patriots going 0-4 to start the season. So I think they squeak out a win in Pittsburgh. Maybe, you get end of the game, Nick Folk field goal type of thing.
Yeah, I think they'll squeak this one out too. I think it'll be a close game. Week 3, who's up next? The Ravens.
Home opener against Baltimore.
I have the Ravens winning.
I do as well. So 1-2 for the both of us to start the season. You promised different predictions, and we are both off to a very similar start here.
I should have specified NFL wide predictions.
Okay, gotcha. That makes more sense because that does, looking at the outline, make a lot more sense.
Yeah, the Ravens are weird. They don't have a ton of great receivers, but they do have Mark Andrews. They have Gus Edwards starting the year on the PUP list. J.K. Dobbins coming back, having a limp in one clip, but him brushing that off. Lamar Jackson's giving them a deadline of Friday to get a big-time contract extension done. I imagine that'll look around the Kyler Murray neighborhood, but I don't know. Probably somewhere.
Do you think it gets done?
230.5. Yes,
okay.
I do. The Ravens can't be dumb enough to fuck this up. Like
you wouldn't think really so, yeah.
Especially before the season. Like the season's very fast approaching. Like they're gonna find a way to get it done.
Yep. So,
yeah, I don't know. Like Lamar is very good, but he's still a guy that's got some what's the word I'm looking for? Some work to do to prove himself.
Some inconsistencies.
Yeah, like Rashad Bateman, like we talk about the receiving troubles, but like Rashad Bateman was one of the best receivers in his class 2 years ago, and decent size, like good physical traits for the I don't know why I had to look up his height today. I thought he was like 6'4" for some reason, but he's 6'1", 210.
Yeah, he's a smaller guy.
I thought he was much bigger. But yeah, he's like a guy that could definitely cement himself as that number one guy this year. And the receiver core without Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews is going to be Mark Andrews.
Yep.
So you got to deal with him. And Isaiah Likely, one of the tight ends they drafted, looks pretty good. So he might be a good second fiddle at that position, with Charlie Kolar probably being the blocking tight end role. They doubled down like the Patriots did a few years ago at tight end with Likely and Kolar. I just like the Ravens to squeak this one out. I think Mark Andrews is going to be a problem. I think Lamar Jackson with his mobility is going to be a problem. Dobbins, kind of hard to predict coming off a big injury, but a guy that definitely has the potential to rebound pretty nicely this year. I think this is probably like a 5-6 point game, but I think the Ravens will squeak it out even on the road.
I do too. I think just off the season they had last year where everything that could have gone wrong seems like it went wrong. I mean, they weren't healthy. Lamar Jackson had a down season. I think he's poised for a bounce back here. Like you said, he's got a lot to play for, obviously, for the contract, especially if it doesn't get done for whatever reason. So I just think Baltimore's going to come out with a B under their bonnet this season, and this is the game. Like the Patriots always have one of those home games where it's like, all right, they should probably win this game, and then they come out and lay an egg or play flatter than they should and, come away with kind of a question mark, scratch your head loss. I think this could very well be that type of game. This, especially, again, earlier in the season, we've talked about it a lot. They always seem to use the first couple of weeks as an extended training camp. So this might fall into that category of, well, you probably should have beaten this team. You're pretty even on paper, but in reality, you came out flat and you kind of get what you get.
Yeah, we shall see. It's just really hard to, especially for, you're not playing like the Bengals or the Bills week.
Exactly.
The first 4 weeks with this uncertainty with the play calling on offense and some questions with the line and stuff and certain receivers here and there and Tyquan being hurt. It's a little harder to predict games than if we just had like a really stout offensive coordinator come in. If Belichick had like a very like outspoken command on the play calling, we just really don't know how long things are going to last the way they decide to go week one, and if it's going to work. So that's not fun, but
no, it definitely muddy. Like I said before, it muddies the waters and makes things a lot less clear than it probably should be. Like you said, it has been in the past.
Yeah, I don't like this, but I hope I'm wrong.
Not fun. Nope.
For enjoyment purposes, but up next after the Ravens in week 4, we have
off to Lambeau to take on the Packers. First 425 start of the year, and I'll get it out of the way right now. The first blowout loss the Patriots have.
Yeah, I mean, even without Devontae Adams, it's still Aaron Rodgers.
It's still the Packers. They're still a much better team on paper, better defense, better coaching.
Yeah.
They have legitimate coordinators.
I don't think Alan Lazard's going to be the number one receiver in football like he said he might be able to do, but I think Christian Watson's going to be solid out of the gate. They like Dubs or Dubs. I still always forget how to pronounce his name for some reason. Sammy Watkins is really of no concern to me. I don't think Sammy Watkins is like anything to be too frightened about, but Aaron Rodgers he might be.
Exactly.
They're just a better team, and we'll see. At the tight end position, if Tunyon's back at that point, he's going to probably miss early season, but a little bit, but hopefully not too much for their sake. And AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones are both very good. So, I don't like it. It's a recipe for disaster. I think they could lose this game by 2 touchdowns plus. And, Green Bay just has Jair Alexander, hopefully for a full season this year too, which isn't fun to deal with.
No, it is not.
Can be the best corner in the game at times. So I don't like that. I don't think the Patriots beat the Packers. I don't think there's a chance. So
I don't either. I'd give them a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt or a chance if this game was in Gillette, but the fact that it's in Lambeau, like incredibly hostile environment, like you don't know what this team's going to look like the first couple weeks of the season for all the things you mentioned. It's not a spot Mac Jones has played in before. He's not a guy that has shown to be rattled in the past, but again, it is Lambeau. There is all the history there. And again, you're playing Aaron Rodgers, like you mentioned. Anything can happen when you play him. And like you said, with the question marks of this defense, what are you going to look like? What's it going to look like? Aaron Rodgers, I think, torches this team pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm not excited about this one personally. I am a little more excited about week 5 though, because I do like what the Lions have done with the team. But I do think the Patriots are going to beat them, and this is a little bit contingent on whether Jameson Williams will play or not. But still, I think the Patriots will find a way to beat the Lions. Although I do think the Lions, half spoiler, are going to be better than they have been in the past this year. So
as do I. The more I look at this game, the more, like, for all the same reasons you said, I like what Detroit's done. They're clearly building, a solid foundation there. This to me has this potentially similar feeling as that Houston game last year where the Patriots should have went down to Houston, took care of business, and looked really bad the first half. I feel like this Detroit game, I don't want to say trap game per se, because I have the Patriots winning. It just seems like it's a game that, they could come out a little flat, and maybe things get ugly. You have to win this one in a dogfight, because you kind of, like we've seen them maybe do in the past, you maybe, what's the word I'm looking for? Not underappreciate their opponents. Kind of overlook the opponent, I guess. Yeah, or kind of just write them off as they're the Lions. They haven't been good in almost a decade, like that type of thing. But I do have the Patriots squeaking it out.
Caps off.
Yeah, he's
careful for your knees.
Certified crazy.
I just want to see Dan Campbell at one point this year just go full alligator and just start running at people.
Chomping ankles, yeah.
I really want to see it. I didn't watch Hard Knocks this year. I said when they announced it, I was going to watch Hard Knocks finally. I've never watched a full Hard Knocks through. But I said I was going to. I didn't. So maybe I will in the future, but I doubt it. But I mean, it's Dan Campbell. If there's anyone to watch, I mean, the guy's awesome. So maybe I will get to it. But yeah, I think the Patriots will squeak this one out. Yep. I don't mean that as a field goal type of game, but I think they'll win by a touchdown, 10 points probably. But we shall see. Week 6, the Browns. No Deshaun Watson, even though they have a good defense, couple good running backs, a decent offense even without Deshaun Watson. I think the Patriots find a way to pull this one out and beat the Browns.
As do I. We both have them 3-3, like you said. The Deshaun Watson factor is the biggest thing. We said that when we didn't know if he was getting suspended or not. This is a game you and I went back and forth with. But with it not being Watson at the quarterback position, I'm with you. I think the Patriots have just enough to win this game. It's going to the middle of this season, or this season as a whole, the wins that the Patriots get are going to be ugly wins. I don't think any of these are going to come easy, and this will be another one. Like you said, good defense for Cleveland, but the Patriots start to maybe turn a corner here in week 6 and figure some things out a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Week 7, if they don't win in week 7,
season's over.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Bears. The Bears are going to be atrocious this year, I think. Yeah, it's the Patriots.
Will we see N'Keal Harry, do you think? Will it be a N'Keal Harry revenge game on Monday Night Football?
The first 8 weeks.
Oh, is it 8? Okay. I didn't know what the timetable was, but darn. So N'Keal Harry's not going to come back and have 12 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns on Monday Night Football.
That would solidify it. Losing to the Bills or the Bears would be something. But if N'Keal Harry were to do that, I'd be like, nope, it's over.
Just cancel the rest of the final 10 weeks or whatever it is at that point.
That'd be impossible to live with. But yeah, I mean, it's the Bears. Come on.
They're not going to be good. Yep, I'm right there with you. So we're both 4-3 with the Patriots heading into week 8.
Please do not let this get close, Patriots. I don't want this to be close at all. This will be a tough one to swallow if they somehow lose or if the Bears keep this one close. another team I still expect to be bad is the Jets, and I think the Patriots will beat them in Week 8.
As do I. They are the Jets. They're improving slowly but surely, but they're still the Jets. They still find ways to trip over themselves and screw things up. It's Patriots all the way.
Yeah, Zach Wilson's hurt first 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Flacco is, elite.
He's Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco's the lead. It's one of my favorite bits in NFL history. But yeah, the Patriots will beat the Jets. I mean, I'll believe the Jets can beat the Patriots when I see it. The Colts, yeah, I don't see the Patriots having a fun time with that defense.
Nope.
I don't see them having a fun time with Stephon Gilmore in particular.
I forgot he was there. That's right.
Yeah,
Stephon Gilmore revenge game.
Yeah.
It's
I
going to
don't
be
like
ugly.
this matchup. I do not think the Patriots will beat the Colts, unfortunately, in Week 8.
I don't either. They lost to the Colts with Carson Wentz. I think Matt Ryan's a better quarterback. I mean, people may flame me for that comment, but you lose to Carson Wentz, Jonathan Taylor runs all over you. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to run all over you again. And now you have Matt Ryan to deal with, who's a better quarterback. And maybe he's looking for some revenge. It's probably the first. Oh, no, the Patriots played Atlanta last year. So it's not the first rematch since the Super Bowl. But
I don't even
that would have
remember
been something.
that. I don't even remember the Patriots playing the Falcons last year.
Yeah, they I think the Falcons had like 3 or 4 quarterbacks play in that game because their quarterback play was so bad. The Patriots had like 4 or 5 interceptions too, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think they find a way to beat the Colts at home. So they're 5-4 on my board. I believe they're 5-4 on yours as well, heading into the Week 10 bye.
I believe so, yes. Week 10, a bye. So the Jets, again.
All the same reasons, wins across the board.
Wins, again. I mean, it's just, I think the Patriots run the table against the Jets this year. They're still the Jets. Maybe a little better. Maybe some improvement with that impressive draft class they had. If Zach Wilson can get back up to speed after the injury recovery, but they're still the Jets. They're still going to be bad. They're not going to sniff the playoffs. So Jets. Week 12 was on the document. Week 12.
Thanksgiving
Minnesota Vikings.
At Minnesota.
Don't like it. I do like Kevin O'Connell for the Vikings. I do like Andrew Booth Jr. a lot. Anybody who followed the podcast over the past year knows.
That's true. You wanted the Patriots to get that guy.
Out of that stud Georgia defense, Lewis Seen. They needed help in their secondary. They got it. Justin Jefferson's fantastic. Adam Thielen, if he's healthy, is going to have a really good year. They like KJ Osborne. Dalvin Cook's still very good. So is Alexander Madison. Christian Darrisaw, they're one of their former first-round picks, is really impressing in camp, so that could be huge for Kirk Cousins, potential left tackle of the future. So who is it? Trent Williams was praising him in the summer. So pretty high praise.
It's I was like, good guy to praise.
Tackle in the game right now. So, I think Kevin O'Connell is going to do a lot for this team in the best of ways, and I think they're going to be a playoff team, and I think they're going to surprise people because I think some people will probably still be like, "Oh, that's the Vikings," but
I'm surprised that you're picking the Vikings in this game.
Yes.
Hello. Yes. Okay. I'm surprised. I thought this is where we were going to differ. I have the Patriots losing this game as well for all the same reasons you said. I know it's Kirk Cousins. I have a lot of friends that have made fun of me for picking the Vikings to win this game because of that factor. But like you said, I think Justin Jefferson by the end of the season is going to he's going to be the Cooper Kupp of this year. I think he's going to have an absolute breakout year. Like you said, I love Thielen as well. And I think Dalvin Cook has a bounce back year too. Too many weapons. Maybe the Patriots defense has figured it out by week 12 when you have some more defined roles and, maybe you have a top corner that you can rely on, but it's Justin Jefferson. He's going to be the best receiver in the league. Book it now. That's my bold prediction. I think Minnesota is just too much to handle offensively. And like you said, too, I like all the changes they've made and the needs that they have had and have been addressed. So, but the Vikings are going to be a surprise team, I think, too. I'm right there with you.
If they outperform to how they should, like watching Kupp, Chase, and Jefferson race for the receiver title, if you want to call it, for most yards, touchdowns, whatever, it's just going to be like
it's going to be ridiculous,
unprecedented. It's going to be like something we haven't seen in years. It's going to be a ton of fun. Yeah, I think the Vikings are going to pull this one out, putting a damper on Thanksgiving right around my birthday. So that
it's
not on Thanksgiving this year though. My birthday's on the 26th, so that following Saturday. It's week 13. The Bills. This is an L. This is an
absolutely.
L. I have the Patriots. Spoiler: taking 2 L's, like in the word Bills, against the Bills this year. See what you
did there? It was very clever.
the Bills are really good. I think Gabriel Davis is another one of those young receivers that's finally going to break out. He's kind of been trending towards it, bubbling up towards it for the past 2 years or so, more so this past year. He's really good. Stephon Diggs is really good. I think James Cook has a chance to take the starting role by the end of the season from Devin Singletary. I don't think Zach Moss will be much of a factor. But yeah, man, I mean, their O-line, I think, could be better, but I think it's going to be enough to protect Josh Allen, and for a guy as big as him, for him to be as mobile as he is crazy.
Josh Tre'Davious White is back. That helps that defense that didn't have him at the end of last year. So
he's like out the first 4. I don't know if it's confirmed he's out the first 4 weeks, but he's going to miss the start of the year. But once they get him back, that's huge. I like the Kyer Elam pick in the draft. That just strengthens their secondary.
Yep.
Von Miller is there Shakir as well. He could chip in at the receiver position. I do like Von Miller as well. The Bills are really good. They're the favorite in the AFC for a reason. So
absolutely.
I do not think the Patriots just have a chance against them this year, unfortunately.
I don't either. It's kind of the same argument you gave for the Jets. When the Jets beat the Patriots, I'll believe it. When the Patriots beat the Bills, I'll believe that they could beat the Bills. Like, it's the same thing. The leaps and bounds of talent level is just so ridiculous that it's Buffalo all the way.
Yeah, they're just so stacked. What's next?
At Arizona another Cardinals. Primetime game, Monday night this time around.
I feel like I could not tell you a time I've ever seen the Patriots play in Arizona. I could not tell you.
The first Jimmy G start was the last time, I believe. The only reason I remember that is because we had a fantasy hockey draft that night that took, or not you and I, but a friend of mine in high school that took like 5 hours to complete because it was just awful.
True.
But yeah,
I couldn't even tell you.
Yep. I think it might have been Chandler Jones' first game as a Cardinal too that year. It was all that talk of, him. Yeah, I'm going way back in my memory bank.
Now a Raider. We're connecting him to the Patriots because he's with Josh McDaniels, even though on the other side of the ball. Well, Josh McDaniels is the head coach, actually. I'm just so used to him being the OC.
I wish he was the OC.
The Cardinals will have DeAndre Hopkins back. James Conner is very good. Rondale Moore, another guy that could absolutely break out this year. Marquise Brown.
Kyler Murray, if he's not.
Well, they're slowly building on defense. Kyler Murray is, if he's not falling off a cliff like they do.
I was going to say, if he's not playing COD, or when's the new COD come out? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals are just better. I'm going Cardinals.
Okay. This is, I think, maybe the one spot we differ, and I keep pronouncing that wrong for some reason. I don't know. I've seen so many things on the Cardinals, the kind of middle of the pack team. Are they going to be good or they're not going to be good? This is the one, I think, surprise game that the Patriots have. I think they're going to Arizona, and again, lack of a better term, surprise you. Plus, to spoil it, I can't have the Patriots on an incredibly long losing streak. They got to mix in a win somewhere here. So I think they go in and shock the world on Monday Night Football and beat probably what's going to be a favorited Arizona team.
I hope you're right. I do like Zaven Collins, if we're talking, keeping the breakout trend together. I do like Zaven Collins to break out on defense big time. So yeah, I don't know. I think Kyler could create problems, and the guys I mentioned on offense are not fun to deal with either. James Conner has proven to be a touchdown machine, so he could be a problem, particularly in the red zone as well. So
very true.
Yes. Who did they draft in the first round this year? I'm trying to remember. Did they have a first round pick? No, they traded out of the first round.
No, they traded it away.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I was checking. I was like, did they pick in the first round this year? But no, they didn't. Forget who they made the trade with, but that's not super important right now. What is important is week 15, where they have the
Josh McDaniels led Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday Night Football. You have a loss. I do too.
Yeah, McDaniels is going to have fun with that offense.
Exactly. It's the McDaniels, Carr, Adams factor. They don't have anyone that's going to stop Devontae Adams. You saw that in training camp. Sorry to cut you off, but kind of was set in stone early on.
The whole line is a work in progress, especially after, letting Leatherwood go, who wasn't going to be a fit to begin with, wasn't really good last year, but still first round pick in 2021. Their defense still needs some work, but I love the Chandler Jones addition. I think, there are things to like, especially in the front seven. But yeah, it's Devontae Adams is going to go berserk, and that's enough to beat the Patriots. I think
absolutely.
Devontae Adams is that stupidly good. Then you have Hunter Renfrow, who's just Hunter Renfrow. He's one of those super efficient, scrappy receivers. Insanely good route runner, especially in like tight, like quick moving routes. He's just so precise. Yeah, I like the Raiders to beat the Patriots in this one. And yes, I mean, this one could be a big margin of victory. So don't love it.
I don't either.
16.
16.
Bengals. I mean, you get the Raiders and the Bengals. Like that's
lost.
Yeah. I mean, come on. This is going to be cruel and unusual.
You go from having to cover the best receiver arguably in football in Devontae Adams to now cover maybe the best offense
of the best receivers.
Yeah, exactly.
In the NFL.
So like, good luck.
Not to mention T. Higgins isn't a contract year. So there's that added incentive to go ridiculous sicko mode this year. Then you just have Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, Alex Kappa on the O-line, La'el Collins, arguably the best right tackle in the league. Ted Karras, who's no slouch at guard, has some flexibility. Jonah Williams took a step next year, so maybe he establishes himself as more of a formidable left tackle. They get Dax Hill in the draft, one of the guys that wanted to be a Patriot. This Bengals team is nasty. Won't be surprised to see them back in the Super Bowl this year.
I was going to say, they're better than the team that made the Super Bowl. Like, they did what the Patriots didn't do, and that was address like very clear needs. Like we talked about it after the Super Bowl, their offensive line. If this was a team that didn't do anything in the offseason and kind of tried to run it back with the same squad, maybe I'd feel better about the Patriots. But like you said, Joe Burrow was much more better protected than he was a couple months ago. Like their offense, like you said, is going to be a top 5 offense in the league, I think. And like you mentioned, all the weapons they have. Like whether it's in New England or in Cincinnati, there's no chance the Patriots stack up. Again, it comes down to who's going to cover all these weapons, and they don't have enough guys to do that.
Yeah. And they lost CJ Uzomah to the Jets and replaced him with Hayden Hurst. So it's not like they just
not a bad,
decent
absolutely.
tight end option.
Yep.
Yeah. God, that one's going to be tough to watch. Week 17. Who do we have?
Home against the Dolphins.
I'm going with the Patriots in this one. I can't give the Dolphins 2-0. I just can't.
I can't either. Yep.
There's going to be some desperation in this one for both teams. I think the Patriots edge this one out. Could absolutely see in this being like an OT field goal game.
This is the game that, like we've done before, we've done it. You know, you and I live in the world of realism. This will be the game that if the Patriots pull it out, people will get back on all the path talk and everything of like, oh, there's a chance this team can make the playoffs, even though they've been, as we are predicting here, a pretty mediocre average team throughout the entire season. This will be the one that gives people false hope. And then you have the Buffalo Bills. Who knows when this game's going to be played, what time, what day? It's to be determined on the schedule right now, but you have the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo waiting for week 18. And as you mentioned before, you couldn't give the Dolphins 2-0 against the Patriots, but you and I will, I believe, both be giving Buffalo 2-0 against the Patriots.
What a brutal stretch at the end of the year. You got Arizona, Vegas, Cincinnati, Miami is kind of like hit or miss. You never know what you're going to get, I think, this year. I think they're going to be a little up and down. And then you get the Bills, who, like, arguably the best chance to win the Super Bowl this year. Not fun. And I have the Patriots going 7-10 this year and missing the playoffs.
I have them going 8-9. It's look like you just said. You're running the gauntlet at the end of the season. You have an easy October when you get Detroit, Cleveland, Chicago, and the Jets. Other than, like, I'm trying to figure out the people that have held out hope and been optimistic for this team, the people that are like, oh, they're going to go 10-7 or, you know, maybe squeak out. Like, where are you finding these extra wins exactly is what I'd like to know and ask these people. Because, you know, maybe they see Baltimore as a winnable game. Maybe there's people that think the Dolphins aren't going to be as good. Like, I don't see what the people
could win both against Miami.
Okay.
I think they could beat Baltimore. I think they could beat Pittsburgh. I think they could lose to Pittsburgh.
That's what I mean. A lot of these games are toss-up games. Like,
especially like we talked about earlier, you have uncertainty in the play calling. You have uncertainty in your line, your offensive line, with how things went in the preseason. You're relying heavily on 2 rookie corners this year. Your front seven's solid. Your linebacker group is, you know, a little bit remains to be seen, but like a good foundation.
Coming,
your safeties are pretty good. Your special teams is really good, even without Bethel. So think of that what you will. I think it's a 7-10, 8-9 team.
Yep.
I think it's right around this range.
Right there with you.
I want to say 10 wins max, but I'm gonna say 9. I'm gonna go 6 to 9 wins. Nice. I think disaster scenario is 6-11.
Right. Yep.
I'm going, if they are anywhere outside of the 6 to 9 win range, I'll be shocked. I'm going with 7-10. Unfortunately.
Like you
It
said,
sucks.
I am
Like it
I am
does
8 and
suck,
9.
but I can't put a team that could not name an offensive coordinator.
No, I think you have every right to do. Absolutely.
I can't put them in the playoffs, even
Mhm.
though Belichick could have enough in week 1 and decide to take it all by himself and have Hoyer chip in and whatever. Like, because Hoyer's gonna chip in with the offense.
Oh, I wouldn't surprise me now if
year.
Hoyer's behind the scenes doing like right now doing that. Like he's the one helping Matt game plan for week 1. But
yeah, exactly. That's just why he's invaluable, and they keep bringing it back every year.
But that's another. I'm glad you brought up the point of Belichick snapping and finally just saying, "F this, I'm going to do it myself." Like, how many weeks in is he going to wait to do that exactly? Like, does he wait till they go 1-3 and they get killed by Green Bay? And go, okay, going into week 5, I have to make a change. Just like you said, you see it in week 1, and it looks as bad as it looks in the preseason, and go, screw this. This is not going to work. I don't know why I put my faith in Matt Patricia and Joe Judge anyway. Like, that's the one saving thing I think you could save the season with if he turns this over quickly. But I think they're going to hold out hope too much that Patricia and Judge and whoever else they want to throw in there figures things out, which it's, again, you and I have brains. It's not going to happen. Like, they're not offensive minded coaches.
Yeah, I don't know. Especially like we talked about too, you get the gauntlet at the end of the year. You need to figure things out well before you get to the gauntlet. So however they do it, I hope they do it. And I hope we're both wrong. I hope they make the playoffs because, even if they make the playoffs and lose one game, it's, you get a playoff game. That's good.
Exactly.
It's progress. It's good experience for Mac in particular.
As long as it's not against Buffalo again.
Oh, yeah, that would just be not fun. But yeah, keep sound like a broken record, but we hope we're wrong. It's one of those situations.
Yeah, we never want to see the team lose and not make the playoffs. But again, we try to be as realistic as possible here. What's next? I thought we did it on the last time we did the NFL preview. I was scouring the internet the other day and some bold predictions for this Patriots team across the internet. Some insiders, guys like Phil Perry and Tommy Curran, gave their 5 bold predictions. Obviously, like we did last year, if you have any at the end, feel free to join them. But I thought I'd just kind of run through these, get your thoughts. Because there's some interesting ones. There's a couple of common ones that I found kind of interesting. Christian Barmore's name's come up a couple of times. There's been a couple Mac Jones ones. So starting off with the Mac Jones one, this was from fan-sided saying Mac Jones will throw 35 touchdowns and get MVP votes. Of course, Jones last year had 22 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. Do you see Mac Jones getting any sort of MVP consideration at all throughout the year? And if so, what would he have to do that? And what would the team have to do?
40 plus touchdowns, get into the playoffs. Like,
yep.
I just don't think Mac is there yet. Like,
no, I had 30 plus touchdowns.
30?
Like,
I think he hits 30 at the max.
And that's where I'm at. Like,
I'm looking at Mac Jones around like probably just over, if not just around 4,000 yards, like 4,100 yards, like 26, 27 touchdowns, and like around the same number of picks, so like 12, 13.
Yep. I'm right there with you.
I'm looking at marginal improvement for Mac.
Absolutely. That's what I mean. You got to go up a little bit for Jones. I saw a lot of people want some bold predictions that he's going to regress. I mean, again, for all the reasons we've mentioned, no offensive line really, or the offensive line has not been good. No offensive coordinators. Like, I could see Mac Jones regressing more than I could see him being an MVP candidate, in all honesty, with just how shitty of a situation he's been put in. But for me, like you said, if he gets any votes, he's got to have 30 plus touchdowns, 4,000 plus yards, and he needs to, at some point through the season, he's not going to, because it's not the player he is, but basically just pull a Brady and say, screw this, I'm going to start calling my own plays and figuring it out myself, because this clearly isn't working.
I love that.
I would too, but it's not going to happen. So I would have to say no for Mac Jones getting MVP consideration. It'd be nice for that, but
and like
maybe he'll get some Pro Bowl votes.
As an up-and-coming QB, like, if he were to have an MVP case, beating a guy like Burrow or Allen.
Exactly. The field is too large for him to.
If he had like 40 plus touchdowns and beat the Bills twice, like,
absolutely.
I'm putting him in the MVP. I'm putting him in the MVP vote, but I just don't think he's there yet. I don't think he's close, and I'm not saying that as a bad thing. It's just like he's still getting comfortable, and the situation isn't as good as it was last year. So I mean, it's a tough hurdle for him to overcome, and we saw that in the preseason. Be a lot less time, and things weren't as cohesive as he would like them to be.
He was not a happy camper. I mean, that's the big thing too.
This is a season, like last year, he had Cam Newton in the mix for a little bit, and still came in when he was named starter and played pretty good for the most part. He's got a full offseason knowing he's a starter, but he's got these headaches that could linger into the season, so it's tough.
Exactly. Yeah, the big thing for me too is he pretty much to get any sort of MVP consideration, like you said, has to be in playoff contention and pretty much has to single-handedly will the Patriots there. Like he has to be the guy that, I mean, that's obvious to say with the starting quarterback, but like, you know what I'm getting at. Has to like put the team on his back and say, just follow me. I'll get you 11, 12 wins somehow. And then maybe, but again, like you mentioned, is he going to be able to beat out Burrow, Herbert, Mahomes just for AFC quarterbacks alone?
No. Yeah,
probably not going to happen. No,
it's just an insane thing. It's like McAvoy. I'm not comparing McAvoy and Mac Jones, but like it's like McAvoy. In the
it's
NHL.
a good comparison. I know exactly where you're going. Yep.
But he could be beaten in the top 3 for MVP by like Adam Fox, Kale McCarr, and Roman Yossi for the next 3 years. Yep. That could realistically happen. I think McAvoy will win a Norris at some point in his career, but like it's one of those things where Mac isn't at that level of Burrow and Allen, to be specifics, and Herbert and Mahomes. But like, even if he gets to that level, he's got so much competition.
Absolutely.
Like, and by the time he gets to that level,
those guys are going to be.
Multiple of these guys could have an MVP
exactly. Yep.
If he gets,
they're not going to be regressing. They're going to kind of be at their ceiling or getting maybe guys like Burrow getting to it eventually. But I get where you're coming from. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a far fetch, but that's why they're bold predictions. On to the next one from Fansided. This is an interesting one. Damian Harris rushes for his career total in 2022. His career rushing total is 1,632 yards. The positive, he has gone up every year he's been in the NFL, 12 yards in 2 games in 2019, 691 yards in 10 games in 2020, and 929 yards in 15 games a season ago. The problem is, though, and why I don't think that's going to be the case, I don't think he rushes for his career total, is a lot of talk has been on Ramondre Stevenson, potentially upping him as the starter. There's obviously been the trade rumors that we've talked about in the offseason. Do you see him getting to his career total this year, rushing forward, or are you kind of in the same boat I am, where he maybe falls short of that because the competition is maybe going to be a little more stiffer than it's been in the past?
Dude, like I like Damian Harris a lot, but I wouldn't even say Damian Harris gets close to 1,632 yards if Ramondre Stevenson weren't even here. Like,
really?
1,632 yards is a shit ton.
It's a lot for,
He had
especially a Patriots running back too.
Last year, it had 929. Like
played in all but 2 games too, so it's not like he missed a ton of time.
Damian Harris is like a max full season, like 1,100 yard guy right now.
I agree with you. Somewhere around that range, 1,100, 1,200.
And that's pretty good, but like still a long way from 1,632, which is like Derrick Henry, ridiculous. Jonathan Taylor level. Like he's just not there yet, but he's very good. And I mean, the guy had freaking 15 rushing touchdowns last year, which is phenomenal. So, but yeah, I mean, you have Ramondre Stevenson who proved very capable. What could help is if, Ramondre Stevenson becomes more and more of a passing back guy because, James White, you didn't have him last year, but maybe they were kind of hoping James White could go back into his role. James White retires. Maybe they rely on Ramondre more in a heavy passing role than last year. So we'll see how Ramondre's role is split up. But yeah, I mean, hitting 1,600 yards with Stevenson in the mix is like borderline impossible.
I think, I think so. Right there with you.
Especially like, what if the line doesn't hold up? He's not going to have as much time to run.
Exactly. That's the thing too, is like with how bad, again, the offensive line play has been. Like the run game could look very suspect to start the season, which again, wouldn't be the most surprising thing. And then again, your offense kind of hinges around that. What is the offense going to look like? There's just, again, too many uncertainties, too many, potentially bad things that could go wrong that I think deter that. Again, I'm with you. I like Damian Harris, but not at 1,600 yards. Like that's a little too far-fetched for me.
Yeah.
Another fan-sided one on the offense. This one, again, I'm kind of in the same boat as the last one. Devontae Parker will have 1,000 yards in 4 100-yard receiving games. To put that in context, the last Patriot receiver to have a 100-yard receiving game was Jacoby Myers on December 20th of 2020. The last Patriot receiver to have a 1,000-yard receiving season was Julian Edelman back in 2019, where he had 1,117 on exactly 100 receptions. The last Devontae Parker 1,000-yard season was 2019, when he had just over 1,200 on 72 receptions. So he can do it. The question is, can he do it in this offense? And I think the answer is probably going to be no, with how the Patriots, again, the offense has looked and just how they spread the ball around. Like you don't see many guys getting 100 yards on this team night in and night out.
Yeah.
Or week in and week out, rather.
I'm expecting Devontae to be like 1,000 or like just shy of it. Like
I'm thinking like 700, 800.
Like a 920 at best, 900 guy. but more so like an 880, like 870, probably like just shy of 900. But it's possible. I mean, if him and Mac connect enough, I think, Devontae's got enough open field speed and ability to get open deep to be intriguing in that regard to hit 1,000. So 400-yard receiving games, I don't know about that, but I think 1,000 is in the cards.
Okay.
But maybe you do need those 400 plus receiving games to do so. So it's not the most far-fetched thing, but it's just, I don't know. I can't say.
Again, how is the offense going to look?
Like, yeah, I can't.
It's a big question mark.
Yeah.
There is one other fan side I want to get to at the end because it kind of sums everything up. And we've also kind of given our overall thoughts on it to begin with.
Wait, there's one I think you skipped over.
I got to go back to it now. The clutch points one. This one from Clutch Points was Christian Barmore proves to be the Patriots' best player. That's overall on the team, best player, not on offense, on defense, just the best player in general. I've seen this one. A couple people are high on Christian Barmore. I don't know if I would say the Patriots' best overall player. I mean, I think it's going to have to be Mac Jones. Or, I would maybe even throw Kyle Duggar's name into that just with, how strong the secondary has been. I think he's going to take an increased role there. But there is a lot of high upside for Barmore. Obviously had a great rookie season last year. This was from Pro Football Focus. His 17.2 pass rush win rate was the best recorded by a rookie defensive tackle since 2006. Ranked second among rookies, trailing only defensive rookie of the year, Micah Parsons. So there is high hope for Christian Barmore, who obviously had a good camp and good preseason. But I don't know about the Patriots' overall best player. I don't know if you feel differently, or are you one of the people that are pretty high on Barmore?
Yeah, I'm not going to say overall best player, but I think he absolutely could be because, I mean, Barmore was just he didn't light it up with sacks or anything, but he got better as the season went on. And he's just explosive. He's a mean mauler at the interior defensive line position. And it's kind of a psycho sometimes.
A little bit.
I see a little bit of a psycho in him. So, yeah, I don't know if he'll be the best overall player on the team, but I'm expecting him around the 6.5 sacks range this year. So, 1.5 last year, I think to bump that up is reasonable.
Definitely,
yeah, I think he is going to take a big leap forward. I just don't know if I can say for sure he's going to be the best player on the team.
Right there with you.
That's a lot to
ask in a second-year guy. Absolutely. All right, so on to, like I said, Phil Perry and Tommy Curran, who cover the Patriots, had 5 bold predictions each. So quickly run through those to get your thoughts. We'll start with Phil Perry. The first one for him was Bill Belichick. You kind of alluded to this already. Bill Belichick will call offensive plays. I think you and I are in agreement there. That's going to have to happen at some point, especially if this season, exactly, you're praying for it. I am as well, especially if the season gets off to a tailspin. Something's going to have to change, and Bill taking over the offensive play calling is probably the easiest call you can make. The easiest change you can make. You're not going to obviously fire any of these guys midway through the season. So I think that one's pretty much a given. I don't know if you had anything else to add more than you already did earlier on.
No, not really.
No? All right, moving on to the next one. Kind of goes into that as well. Bill Belichick will move on from the the Shanahan-esque runs. That's the obviously run structure they've been doing, the quote-unquote wide zone runs. The teams like San Francisco, the Rams, and the Packers have used successfully. Obviously hasn't worked in the preseason so far. Maybe it's been the problem with the offensive line. Again, I think it's kind of a given. You're going to have to move away from that at some point if it hasn't been working out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know enough about the wide zone runs.
I don't either. I know it hasn't been working with whatever it is. It's clearly not going the way that it should.
Yeah.
That, it makes it work for San Francisco and everybody else. But sure, I mean, I'll say the same thing, that it will definitely have to go away at some point. The third one, Jack Jones will become a starter within a month. Again, I think they're kind of banking on that because they don't really have any other options other than Jalen Mills and Jonathan Jones coming back from an injury. So I don't know if you feel the same way about Jack Jones. I know you're pretty high on him out of the draft. You see him becoming the starter within a month.
Yeah, I've always liked that pick from the standpoint he's got character issues and whatever at school, and Belichick takes a mid-round pick on him to see if he can turn him into the player he knows he's capable of. I haven't seen enough of the preseason to say for sure that he's gonna be a starter. I like what I hear about him. I like the reasons I mentioned. A guy that's kind of doubted in college. There's some concerns. Belichick takes that gamble on him, can turn him into the guy they need. But I can't say for sure he's gonna be a starter. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. That is probably his.
Answer, but I mean,
That's
where I'm
probably
at
his
about
boldest
Jones.
prediction out of all of them. Like a lot of these are kind of the same things we've been talking about.
I think the next one is.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Barmore will be a top 5 defensive tackle in the NFL. The stat kind of backing it up he had in his little article saying, quote, according to Pro Football Focus pass rush win rate statistic, Barmore was 5th among interior defensive linemen in 2021, behind only Aaron Donald, Jacob Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, and Chris Jones. So good company to be in there. Top 5, again, second year in the league. It's a lot to ask. You're high on him, as you just mentioned. Do you see him becoming a top 5 DT by the end of the season?
I could see it for like in the regard that he mentions with the pass rush win rate statistic. Absolutely.
Okay.
Top 5 for a second year player is just like that holds a lot of magnitude. So I'm gonna say no overall, but like top 10, absolutely. Top 8,
I was gonna say he'll get close, but not top 5.
Like in some respects, absolutely. I think he'll be top 5. I think he'll be right back in pass rush win rate and maybe some other things because like I said, I expect him to be around to boost that sack number up like 4 or 5, maybe even more. But yeah, I don't know. Top 5 is a pretty big title, so I don't know if I can say for sure, but I mean Barmore. I mean,
it's a possibility down the road.
Breakout.
Yeah, I think like maybe year 3, 4, he could maybe see that definite massive leap. But right now, like you said, top 5 in the second year in the league is it's kind of tough. The last one for Phil Perry, this one, again, maybe not the boldest of predictions because it happened last season. Hunter Henry will lead all tight ends in touchdowns. He led the NFL in touchdowns by a tight end last year, along with Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and Dawson Knox. He's a good red zone target. We obviously saw that from Mac Jones last season. But, Kelce's probably going to be the focal point of that Kansas City offense. Mahomes is probably going to go his way a lot. His touchdowns are probably going to go up. Mark Andrews, same thing. I think he's going to be relied heavily again. I think Hunter Henry definitely has a better chance to beat out Knox this season just with how Buffalo's offense is probably going to be spread around. But what do you think? Are you kind of in the same boat I am that it's probably going to be Kelce leading the way this year?
Yeah. I think Kelce's going to end up with like 13 to 15.
Yeah, he's going to have a massive year. Yep.
Yeah, and Andrews, Mark Andrews is getting better year by year. Darren Waller, if he can stay healthy, he'll be up there.
Yeah, that's like he's kind of the forgotten guy.
Territory. Yeah, he's got back and knee issues, so that's not fun.
I would have said George Kittle before today, but he's hurt again now. So
Dawson Knox is a 4-year contract extension. He's got to prove his worth on now. So
so maybe he gets now. Maybe that'll help my fantasy team out because he's my starting tight end in one of my leagues. But who knows?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Kelce, but Henry will be way up there. I think we're looking at 8 or 9 touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Then on to Tommy Curran again. Some of these are kind of similar to Phil Perry's. This first one, wide zone runs will be mothballed by October. You and I both agree. Don't know what technically the wide zone run is. We both know it's bad, as does everybody else. It has not worked. So that
put your arms out. Like
you just run wide. I don't know.
That's what it is.
Maybe that's why it's not working. It looks so stupid.
Everybody's like, "Oh, wide zone run, Belichick masterclass." Everybody's just gonna run.
These guys running with their arms up.
All the linemen are gonna run like that too. Just create a barrier.
Be terrifying to see Trent Brown coming at you like that, but again, it's like
hands. I mean,
maybe that's a good one. Yeah, you can't run through them if
form a circle. Then you clamp them behind and form a circle behind the running back.
Yeah,
it's flawless.
Follow us. Here we go.
God,
all right.
Stupid.
So we're both in agreement there that is 100% going to be done by October. Tommy Curran's not giving this run structure really anytime, and rightfully so because it hasn't been good. His next one, the Patriots will allow more than 24 points just twice before Thanksgiving. His predictions for those games: Miami in week 1 and Green Bay in week 4. Of course, the Patriots' first 11 weeks. Their opponents: the Dolphins, Steelers, Ravens, Packers, Lions, Browns, Bears, Jets, Colts, Jets, and Vikings. I don't know. I'm kind of in a toss-up with this one. I think that Vikings, again, with how their offense, and that's all you really hear about.
Specific.
It is. Miami dropping 24 points in week 1 is interesting. Green Bay, again, you and I are both in agreement. I think we both think it's going to be a blowout type of thing. Again, the defense is what's going to have to carry this team probably the first month of the season. Do you see it being kind of the same as Tommy Curran, or do you think maybe they falter a little bit and give up 24 points more than twice?
I think it's right around that.
Okay.
Range, so.
The Vikings one is a big toss-up for me again, because all you hear about is their offense is going to be dynamic this season, and there's a ton of changes there. So that one, maybe you fall into getting blown out a little bit there, that being maybe a shootout type of game. The next one, again, this one we've already discussed because you and I both have it. The Patriots will start 1-3 at best. I don't really think there's anything else to say about that. Like I said, because you and I both have that being their schedule. This one I think is more of a possibility than the MVP one for Mac Jones. Tommy Curran predicts Mac Jones will be AFC Player of the Month in October. Again, their October opponents, Detroit, Cleveland, Chicago, and the Jets. I think that's a very easy schedule, as we discussed. I think it's a time where the Patriots are probably going to have to get most of their wins on the season. And if Jones plays well, I think absolutely he could potentially sneak in as the Player of the Month.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit, you have Hutchinson and Oruwariye, two big guys there, I'd say, to look out for on defense. Cleveland, Denzel Ward.
That's true. Yeah, it
Greg
makes things
Newsome.
difficult.
I think Cleveland's the toughest defensive test there. Chase Winovich revenge game, maybe.
I forgot he was there.
Chicago.
Matt Wilson revenge game.
Like Chicago, Mac Wilson revenge game. Chicago, I mean, they're the Bears. And the Jets really just Sauce Gardner, I guess. Like
maybe.
Sauce could be nasty this year. Like real,
he's sneaky defensive player of the year.
4 pick, but like, yeah, I mean, Sauce. He's got a little sauce named after him now too. This is gonna be a good draft for the Jets.
I think so. Like I said, the Jets are moving in the right direction, but they are still the Jets. So there is still
Jermaine Johnson to learn from Carl Lawson now on the edge. Jermaine Johnson could be a stud right out of the gate. No pun intended. Get it like out of the gate, off the line.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then Garrett Wilson. I mean, if they can get him the ball, Garrett Wilson's filthy. Elijah Moore is seen as a guy that can break out, but we're talking about all these good things with the Jets, but they're still going to be the Jets.
They're still the Jets.
It's not going to necessarily work super swimmingly towards a playoff spot. And speaking of receivers, they still got to trade Denzel Mims, which it sounds like they're going to do. So we'll see when that happens. The last one, spoiler alert, yes.
For Kyle Duggar as a Pro Bowler?
Yeah,
I think so too.
Happen this year. He just trends upwards. It's a Belichick diamond in the rough, a D2 kid. He's physical. He's tough. He's just awesome. It's a home run pick. I think he will be a Pro Bowler this year. Absolutely.
All right. So there we go. The last one too. Again, we kind of discussed this a little bit. Fan-sided, their last one. They had the last bowl prediction for the Patriots. The team finds a way to win double-digit games, which, again, we don't really see a path to. There's a couple of toss-up games. And they have the Patriots making the playoffs as a bold prediction. Patriots obviously were 10-7 last year, got a wild card. Some things to remember. The notable teams that have improved in a lot of people's eyes that the Patriots were able to beat out: the Colts, the Dolphins, the Chargers, Cleveland. Again, Cleveland's kind of up in the air without Deshaun Watson for the first, 11, 12 weeks of the season. Baltimore and Denver. Which of those teams are they actually better than is the question I have for you. I think it's probably Cleveland, and that's it. I don't know if you feel different about any of those teams. But like I said, for me, it's Cleveland without Deshaun Watson. That's going to bury them at the start of the season.
Yeah, I might have put Miami by like a little bit.
Okay.
Because, I mean,
there is some uncertainty with the Dolphins. Yeah.
Every receiver on the Patriots. So, no offense to the Patriots receivers, but Cleveland, if Deshaun Watson doesn't come back and play terrible, like, I think they have a better roster than the Patriots. I think their defense is better as well. LA is going to jump up from 9-8, no doubt.
Yep.
Baltimore, I mean, they're kind of, I can't really say for sure because they're a receiver group, but they, they're a good defensive team still, I think. And it'll depend on how their O-line can hold up for Lamar Jackson this year. Indy, I think they are. I think their defense is better. I think Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in the league, and Matt Ryan is a decent improvement.
Yep.
But yeah, that's
so for the sake of the argument, then you'd say 3-4 of those teams are better than the Patriots on paper.
Yeah.
All right, so then that answers that of the teams that are better than them that were worse than
Denver,
last year.
Denver is better.
Denver's leaps and bounds better. Yep. And then just again to hammer it home, notable playoff teams that were ahead of the Patriots last year. You had Tennessee, Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, the Raiders, and the Steelers. Which of those teams are the Patriots actually better than, if any? Maybe Tennessee, maybe Pittsburgh. Yeah, Pittsburgh, I think it's probably a given. Other than that, no to Kansas City, no to Buffalo. Cincinnati, as we mentioned, got better and were, in the Super Bowl last year. And then the Raiders got better. So those are teams the Patriots will be looking up at too. Again, we talked about it when we did the prediction for the schedule. I don't see them getting to double-digit wins, and I just don't see we talked about it in the offseason too. The AFC got so leaps and bounds better around the Patriots, and they really didn't do a ton to keep up with it. Like the AFC is as stacked as it's been in a while, and I think the Patriots are kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit, and you're gonna see that when the season kicks off.
Yeah, I mean Tennessee, Tannehill, but they have Derrick Henry. We'll see how Traylon Burks does in essentially the wide receiver 2 role. If Robert Woods can stay healthy, he'll be a solid wide receiver 1. They like Kyle Phillips, who they drafted this year, as like a wide receiver 3, like kick returner type guy. Buffalo's better. Kansas City, even though, they retooled the offense a little bit, bringing in Valdez Scaling, Schuster, Sky Moore, Ronald Jones, if he sticks around for long. The thing that's interesting about Kansas City is losing Tyrann Mathieu and Travarius Ward, how they're going to bounce back from that. So they drafted, what's his face from, why am I forgetting the Washington corner's name they drafted? Washington corner.
I can't remember.
Trent McDuffie. They drafted Trent McDuffie, so that'll soften the blow a little bit. But I don't know. Maybe the Chiefs get torched a little bit this year. I don't know, but
the Chiefs are a weird one for me. As we'll get into the across the NFL predictions in a minute here. Like the Chiefs were kind of
Vegas is better.
Yeah, Vegas. Yep. But yeah, I mean, Kansas City is kind of a toss up for me. I don't really know what they're going to be, with the losses they had. Obviously, Tyreek Hill, but still have Patrick Mahomes, like you mentioned, still have plenty of serviceable guys. So they're probably still going to be a very solid team.
What happened? My headphones there for that.
What happened there? It didn't work.
Agreed. Let's get into our predictions for the standings, which are a lot different than one another's.
They are. You want to do it by division, by division, or okay? So starting in the AFC East, I'll start. I have the Buffalo Bills finishing at 12-5. Not the top seed though. We'll get to that in a second. For me, I have Buffalo finishing second. I think they'll probably get off to a little bit of a slow start with all the expectations and then kind of figure things out as the season goes on. Miami finishes second at 9-8. The Patriots, as we already have, finished third at 8-9. And the Jets, I think they squeak out 4 wins. They'll kind of be in the same spot they were last year. They'll finish the season at 4-13.
Very interesting. Mine is much, much different.
Very different, yeah. You are very high on one particular team.
I feel stupid saying this because it's just like an insane thing to happen and it's so infrequent. But I ran through the simulator and these are my picks. I thought them over. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to go undefeated this year in the regular season.
It pains you to say that, probably, right?
Like, it does.
As Patriots fans, I don't want to see that.
They do, they do have the Bengals. They do, I believe, have the Bucks. And you say what you want about the Bucks this year with their O-line, and
they got the defending Super Bowl champions in Week 1, in LA.
That's the thing too. I think they're gonna beat LA tomorrow night in LA.
Okay,
so
it's a bold prediction.
Bold prediction, yes. Well, bold from the standpoint of coming off the Super Bowl and going into enemy territory, but they're the Bills. They're gonna be very good this year. I don't feel great about it, but at the same time, predictions are a toss-up. I'm going Bills. Undefeated regular season, and I don't feel, like I said, I keep repeating myself because I'm like, it could blow up tomorrow.
That's true. Your whole thing could come crumbling down. If they lose tomorrow night, I'm still in very good shape at 12-5. Oh
my God. Yeah, but
I think I had them losing to the Rams tomorrow night too in my prediction. So
I went through it and that's what I came up with.
Mm-hmm.
I need to look at the schedule again though to see if they do play the Bucs.
They do later on in the season. I think I can't remember what week it was, but
if they play the Packers, I think they can beat the Packers. I think they beat the Chiefs. Just for big tests here. The Bears. Oh my God, Bills and Bears. Woof. The Bengals late in the season.
50-0.
That game's gonna be crazy, but I do think they can squeak it out against the Bengals. But that one, I mean, it's gonna be a ridiculous game. I'm going to Bills 17-0, and it's gonna be interesting to see if it works out. I'm gonna look like a genius if it does.
True. Get a ton of credit if it does. Yep. Get a ton of blame if it doesn't.
It's okay. It's okay. These are toss-ups in a large extent, anyways. The Patriots 7-10, the Dolphins also 7-10, but the Patriots getting the number 2 seed, in the division doesn't really matter because they don't make the playoffs in this scenario. And I have the Jets. Might be surprising to some, still finishing very poorly and finishing 2-15. So
I'm very curious who you have them beating to get just 2 wins.
I think it's the Bears and the Seahawks.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say there's two really shitty games. I know that I put the Jets under for wins too because the other two teams are just so terrible.
Jets schedule, I'll tell you if I look back into it. Yeah, they beat the Bears. Yeah, Bears and Seahawks.
All right, that would makes a lot of sense because those two teams, those teams are terrible.
Look, this will be one of those ones I get wrong though. The Jets will find a way to beat like one or two teams that they probably shouldn't. So not super confident about that one, but I ran through it and that's what I came up with. So
all right, moving on to the AFC North. I have the Bengals, the defending AFC champions. They take the division at 11-6 to finish as the 4 seed. We talked about it a little bit with the Bengals. They improved everywhere they needed to. They're a better team than they were that made the Super Bowl last year. I think obviously the offense. Chase is going to have another phenomenal season. T. Higgins, as you mentioned, in a contract year is going to step up. Joe Burrow is a dark horse MVP candidate for me. I think they win a division that's going to be up and down all season. Baltimore have finishing at 10-7. They missed the playoffs. Cleveland, they survived not having Deshaun Watson. They don't have the toughest of schedules, so I have them going 9-8, and maybe surprising to some, I have the Steelers. Again, like I said, in the Patriots stuff, not high on Mitch Trubisky. I think a quarterback change will come at some point in that season, or this season rather. The Steelers finished 8-9, and maybe I think is it probably the first season under 500 for Mike Tomlin and his Steelers tenure. I think that's probably if that comes to be what might happen.
Last year, 9-8-1.
9-8-1, I think, yeah, or 9-7-1 or something.
Yeah.
So that stupid tie they had with the Lions, because Lions have a chance to win a football game. Why would they? But yep, that's how I see the North shaking out. It's still going to be run by the Bengals.
Yep. And I have the Bengals finishing 16-1, and their one loss comes to the Bills. I think the Bengals are just going to be fucking gross this year. But when
there's a lot of reason to believe that. It's not crazy.
The Bengals game was a toss-up. I just went with the Bills. Like, I did not know who to pick in that game. I went with the Bills. I love the Chiefs offense the Bengals offense a little bit more. I just have a feeling it's going to be the Bills, a little bit of redemption. I have Baltimore 9-8. I mean, they're an 8-9, 9-8 team. I don't think there's anything else they do for me. Pittsburgh 7-10, Cleveland 7-10. Cleveland will scrape back into the mix a little bit once they get Deshaun Watson back, but that's not going to be for a long time. So I think they will miss the playoffs this year, unless their defense can carry them and Jacoby Brissett, maybe Kellen Mond can give him some QB play. I don't know, man, but yeah, it's not going to be a great year for the
I would agree with you.
Browns. I don't think.
Yep. All right, so on to the South. I have Indianapolis going 11-6. They take the 3 seed. Again, Jonathan Taylor is going to run wild if he can stay healthy, because I have some minor concerns. I don't know if you feel the same way, that maybe with the workload he had last year, any injury concerns with him. But like you said, Matt Ryan's a serviceable quarterback as well. They're going to be better than they were last year. Their defense is still very good. They take the division. Tennessee is a weird team. I have them finishing second. And unlike you, because I think you usually at least have one tie whenever we do this. You did last year, I'm pretty sure. I will be the one that has a tie this year. I have Tennessee finishing 7-9-1. Derrick Henry is good. He's back. Can he come back from that injury? Ryan Tannehill is Ryan Tannehill, like you said. Not a lot of people, when I've looked, are high on the Titans. They obviously had a couple of injuries. I can't remember the linebacker that just had a torn ACL or whoever.
Harold Landry.
Thank you. Yeah, big injury.
I was going to mention him. BC King, Harold Landry, stud, beast.
Big injury there.
Got a contract extension this offseason too. He's such a stud. I was very disappointed to see that.
Yep. But yeah, so tough loss there for the Titans. Again, I don't really know what to make of them. I have them finishing under 500. Jacksonville, maybe a surprise. I have them as a 5-win team, 5-12. Some hope for Trevor Lawrence, maybe. Good to see, what him and Etienne can do. And then I have Houston. They are the team that ties Tennessee. I think Tennessee's probably going to get a bad loss in there, a team they shouldn't lose to, or a team they should beat and don't. Houston 3-13-1 is what I have them finishing at. Not going to be a fun year for the Texans.
Wait, so what's the tie you have? Tennessee
and Houston. Yep.
Tennessee and Houston. I can see that.
Yeah, Tennessee should be able to beat Houston, but
yeah. I pondered like 2 or 3 games along the way. I could see ties, but it's like the biggest.
That's what you should have done. You should have had one undefeated team, a couple of teams that finished 16-1. I
should have had like 6 ties.
A couple of teams that finished winless, and then have like 4 or 5 teams with ties. Just like, what the f is going on in this? The amount of parity in this season is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty ridiculous in that event. But
your AFC South
imagine there actually is 6 ties.
That would be
You heard it
insane.
here
They'd
first.
need to be a rule change at that point. Like,
Yeah, I also have India 11-6, 4 seed in the AFC for the playoffs. I have Tennessee at 9-8. I probably see them as like a 10-7, 11-6 team potentially, but I don't know. I'm worried about Derrick Henry this year. I think for a big guy coming off an injury like that,
yep.
it's going to hamper him. They don't have AJ Brown anymore. I think one thing I actually forgot to ask you, do you think Malik Willis is the starter at the end of the year?
And I hope my buddy's listening to this because my friend Colby from work was very adamant that we do this and he wanted to join in, but I don't think he's in the comment section right now. So that's unfortunate there. He asked me this question. I don't think so. I said the reason why is I think Tennessee, they're paying Ryan Tannehill a crap ton of money this year and next year. I think he's still under contract. So I think Ryan Tannehill will probably still be the quarterback come the end of the season just because they have that commitment to him. And then Willis, maybe they find a trade partner for Tannehill. Maybe they move him out at the end of the season and make Willis a starting quarterback next year. But I don't see it happening. I think Mike Vrabel, and I don't know if he loves Ryan Tannehill, but there's just too much commitment there. I don't think they make a change if and when it comes time.
I feel you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they'll run with Tannehill too. I have them going 9-8. I have Jacksonville still being pretty bad at 3-14, and I have the Texans at 2-15. There are so many teams this year that are making marginal improvements, but I just don't think it's going to translate to much.
Mm-hmm. Tough division too. Like there's not a lot of wins in that division for Houston. Like I think I had Jacksonville maybe sweeping them. Tennessee, obviously, I had with a tie. Indianapolis, I think I had sweeping them as well. So tough division for them to play in for a team that is the clear-cut bottom basement dweller in that division.
Yeah, it's going to just be a battle of the Texans and the Jaguars at the bottom of the division again. The AFC West. Division.
Absolutely. This is spoiler alert. I have every team in this division making the playoffs, starting with the LA Chargers. I am very high on them. They are my number 1 seed, finishing at 12-5. I think you said they play the Bills, right? At some point this season. I think in that game I had the Chargers. Do they? I don't know why I thought for some reason.
I don't think they do.
No? All right, never mind then. I don't know what the tiebreaker is on that website then. But yeah, I love everything the Chargers have done. Again, they've made improvements everywhere. Khalil Mack, I think, is going to feast in that defense. J.C. Jackson, when he gets healthy, will be a big improvement there. And then the offense, kind of the same as Cincinnati. A ton of weapons. Eckler, Herbert, potential MVP candidate. Keenan Allen's getting older, but is still a very serviceable wide receiver. And Mike Williams had a great breakout year last year. A lot to like with the Chargers. I have Kansas City finishing second, 11-6. Denver, with, like you said, Russell Wilson's going to be a big improvement there and a big help. 11-6 go the Broncos to finish as the 6th seed. And then Vegas, they finished last, but again, it's such a tough division where they finished 10-7. You kind of get rewarded as a 7th seed. Maybe it doesn't feel like you had a great year finishing last in your division, but like I said, with as stacked as that division is, every team's going to make the playoffs, and it should be a very interesting AFC West. I think in my predictions too, I had everybody tying in that division. I think they all finished 3-3. Everyone kind of beat up on each other.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like every team in this division is going to make the playoffs, and that's so funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's LA number 1 for me. I think they take a huge leap from 9-8. They got Kyle Van Noy. Shout out to Van Noy.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Khalil Mack. I don't see him slowing down anytime soon. I like them picking Zion Johnson, another BC stud, to protect Justin Herbert. I'm sure Justin likes that as well. I also like Jamari Sawyer. They took out of Georgia, one of the guards that wanted the Patriots to target. I do like Sawyer if he's in the mix this year. And Isaiah Spiller, if he makes some headway in the running game, he could be a nice second fiddle to Austin Eckler. Their offense is stacked. Bryce Callahan, J.C. Jackson, Asante Samuel Jr. could have a nice second season. This year, Adderley's good. Derwin James, if he can stay healthy, is huge. He's going to be one of the best safeties in the league. They're stacked. They're juiced. The Chargers are a big-time contender this year, and Justin Herbert's an MVP favorite, I think. So that's where it starts for me. 15-2 for the Chargers. 14-3 for Denver. I think they're going to get off to a hot start.
Big leap up for Denver.
Yeah, I mean, losing Tim Patrick hurts, but I really like their defense. I think, even though they're going to have to deal with no Von Miller, a guy you had there for so long, it hurts. You're gonna have to, can learn to adjust year by year without him. But I like their defense enough to hold up. I think Russell Wilson is just a massive upgrade. If Jerry Jeudy can stay healthy, Jerry Jeudy could be his favorite target. And we've seen in college in particular, he's had some injury trouble to start his career, but a guy that can be an absolute monster. Cortland Sutton, injury trouble in the past. He's another guy that could, really rebound with Russell Wilson. I think things are going to go really well for Denver. I think their offensive line can use a little bit of improvement, but I think Javonte Williams is a breakout candidate. Melvin Gordon will be Melvin Gordon. I think he's, pretty reliable for the most part. I think the Broncos are going to win a lot of games this year. Kansas City, bit of an enigma, but still pretty good. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce is enough to put them in the playoffs for me. 10-7, and also for the Raiders. People might be a little bit surprised by that one. The 10-7, I think some people are higher on them, but I'm going 10-7 for the Raiders. I still think, they're building something, but they're not perfect yet, and they're playing a stacked division, so it's going to be tough to, beat the Broncos and the Chargers in particular. So
that division is going to be such a bloodbath this year.
The Chiefs could definitely find a way to be ahead of Denver or LA somehow, but I don't think it'll happen. That division really is a bloodbath. I've never seen a division like it in my life.
It's insane. It's like every week when that happened, that news was breaking. Everyone was trying to one up each other that during the offseason. So that was obviously great to see. On to the NFC East. Maybe it's as a surprise to some. I have the Eagles. I like everything the Eagles have done this offseason. Obviously, adding AJ Brown was a huge get for them. I have them winning the division at 11-6. I think they're a good young up and coming team. Dallas, there's some injury concerns there. I have them finishing second. They do squeak into the playoffs at 10-7. Washington, I have finishing third. Kind of toyed with, between 5 to 7 wins for them. I have them finishing with 7. I think, Carson Wentz, say what you will about him. He'll be serviceable for them. Not that high on him. And then the Giants, they find a way to squeak out 5 wins. They finish at 5-12 for me.
Yeah, this is a weird division. I feel like Philly's going to win the division, but when all is said and done, running through the simulator, I had Dallas. I have them going 11-6, 4 seed in the division. I Philly at 9-8, missing the playoffs, which is probably going to surprise people because I think a lot of people out there have Philly as a playoff team. Washington 6-11. I think they'll still be pretty meh. Carson Wentz will do decent this year, but nothing to get them.
Nothing too special,
playoffs. The Giants will still be bad.
The Giants are still the Giants.
Out there they have a good offensive line now with Evan Neal and not Kayvon Thibodeau, and Andrew Thomas has already been there for a little bit now. It's not enough. I haven't seen enough to have them be a threat to really anybody from Daniel Jones, and this is probably his make or break year, which could be good for him, could make him play a lot better. Brian Dable could be great for them.
Yep. I do like that signing, but that hiring, but other than that, I feel like that team is. I think they're really just banking on Saquon. That's kind of that whole team right Toney, now. Kenny
Golladay, Darius Slayton, there are question marks around all their big offensive guys. And Evan Ingram's not in the mix anymore. He's in Jacksonville. Colin Johnson, who they would have had as a depth guy, I think is out for the season. Decent young receiver. Trying to find his way. I just don't see it for the Giants this year. But, adding Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal are good building blocks toward the future. So
absolutely. You got to start somewhere for them.
Yep.
On to the North. Again, toyed with the win total here. I have the Packers. Really no surprise winning the division. How much of a loss is Devontae Adams going to be when you have Aaron Rodgers? Yes, the offense is probably not going to look the same per se, but again, it is Aaron Rodgers. I think he finds a way to win as he usually does in the regular season. Postseason is a different story. 12-5 for the Packers. They finish as the 3 seed. The Vikings, I have them finishing 10-7. Again, like what the Vikings have done all offseason, that offense I think is going to be fun to watch. They are the 6th seed in the NFC. Detroit, I have them being a 7-10 team. Big step up for the Lions. They're heading in the right direction. They got some really good pieces there. But still, a couple years away from really competing in that division. And then Chicago, I'm with you. I'll give them 4 wins, 4-13, just because, there are some winnable games on their schedule, but they are not going to be a fun team to watch. They are going to suffer. And I feel bad for Justin Fields because I like him as a quarterback, but there's no talent around him on that team really outside of maybe David Montgomery if he can stay healthy. I know there's people that, some people think he's good, some people don't. Other than that, Cole Met or Komet, however you say that tight end's name, he's primed for a good year from some things I've seen. But again, like there's not a whole lot there to get excited about other than the quarterback who's going to probably struggle from the product that he has to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, you'll see what I think about the Bears in a sec.
Yeah.
I'm Green Bay at 14-3. I mean, they lose Devontae Adams, but Rodgers is going to find a way. Like, it has to just be eating away at him every year. You know, just wanting
to get worse and worse every
that elusive Super Bowl. He's going to try and find a way. I think they're still good enough to win some games if Jair Alexander can stay healthy. That's huge for their defense. I saw today, it was funny, Zadarius Smith signed with the Vikings just so he could play the Packers twice a year. So maybe Aaron Rodgers has a handful with the Vikings twice a year. It was just a funny quote. Zadarius Smith, of course, being a former Packer. Speaking of Minnesota, I think the Vikings are going to be good. I have them going 12-5. I think, like I included earlier, Kevin O'Connell is going to be huge for that team as a whole. I like Booth Jr. and Scene. I think they're starting to build something in the secondary slowly. Whether that holds up a whole season kind of remains to be seen, but this team's going to put up tons of points if things click. They were really good, well-rounded offense, and I think having Darisaw step up on the left tackle in the future would be huge for Kirk Cousins and the bottom line of the offense. So I'm going 12-5 on the Vikings. That feels weird to say, but it just feels right. At the same time, that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but bear with me here. I also have the Detroit Lions at 7-10. I think they're another team that's slowly building something in a different sense. They're going to win some games. And, yeah, I mean, they have good receivers now. When Jameson Williams comes back, especially Aiden Hutchinson's really good. And Dan Campbell, Dan Campbell.
Can't ever count him out. I'm very high on him.
I'm going to root for him. The Bears are gonna not win a game this year.
0-17.
Yeah,
one of two 0-17s.
I think this Bears team is so bad. You kind of spoiled it, but it's
sorry,
okay.
I didn't say what team, but
yeah,
there is another one coming.
I think people could connect the dots.
Yeah.
I think the Bears are so bad. I think their receiving core is brutal. I think David Montgomery's good, but it's just not enough. Khalil Herbert's solid. I like Khalil Herbert. Jaquan
Other
Brisker,
than that, like you're struggling.
On defense, Roquan Smith is, he didn't say this publicly, but probably a little bit begrudgingly playing for the Bears this season.
Yep.
They just don't have a lot. They traded Khalil Mack for picks. They claimed freaking Alex Leatherwood, a cast-off on waivers to help their old line. Tevin Jenkins, who they drafted in the second round 2 years ago, sucks. They still have him around to protect Fields. Poor Justin Fields. Like, he's just gonna have very little to work with this year. It's gonna be a bad season for the Bears.
I just don't get the direction. I don't get the direction they're going in because, again, we feel bad for Justin Fields, who looks like a guy that was going to be primed as a franchise quarterback there, but then you do nothing to build a supporting team in his second season around him. Really, like, you're kind of screwing the kid over and making it look like that pick. And there's people obviously questioning the pick to begin with. Now, with, again, the product that he's going to have out there and he's going to suffer from that, like, there are people that are going to really get on him when I think it's probably not going to be the most deserved thing on the planet. But who knows? Maybe they surprise you. Maybe they do win a game. Maybe not, because it's not an easy schedule for the Bears. And like you said, they are not a good team whatsoever.
Yeah, they are certainly not. Yeah, but we'll get to the other 0-17 and team I have eventually. The NFC South, though, first.
Yeah, I will start. I have the Bucs. Maybe no surprise there. The clear-cut favorite in that division, 13-4. The 1 seed for me. Maybe there'll be some concerns of, if Brady's heads in it with all the rumors and the stuff about, Giselle and him splitting and all that, TMZ and,
I think it's only going to fuel Brady. I think
that's why I have them at 13-4. I think he's going to bury himself in football this year and just say, F it. Again, my defense screwed me out of a chip for the Super Bowl last year. I'm not happy about that. Maybe I'm going to go out and just beat up on everybody. And like I said, 1 seed for Tampa Bay, 13-4, clear cut favorite. This is a team I went back and forth on. Again, my friend Colby's listening at this point. Like, he kind of convinced me to be a little bit more in on the Saints than maybe I was a week ago. I have them 8-9. I think the Sean Payton loss is going to hurt them. Like, Michael Thomas coming back is an interesting factor with that team, because I think there's a lot of people that think he's going to have a massive bounce back year. Jameis Winston, again, had a good start to his Saints career last year, got hurt. What is he? There's the question marks about Kamara, if he's going to play, if he'll be suspended, all that stuff. So there's definitely some question marks with this team. I think they find a way to squeak out some wins here and there, 8-9. Carolina, 6-11. They're just kind of there. Like Baker Mayfield is definitely an upgrade over what they've had at quarterback the last couple of years, but it is Baker Mayfield. Maybe he comes out with the fire under his ass and plays well, like he's got something to prove. But they just care. They're the Panthers. The schedule, the way it works out, the division, like they're not going to do a whole lot there. And then the Falcons, I have them at 3-14. Same thing. They're the worst team in the division. There's, they're building towards something. They got some good young talent there. But how much do you really believe in a team that's, led by Marcus Mariota? Like,
I don't.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's a great guy, but like, not a great leader of a football team. Like, not going to win a lot of games with him as your quarterback. So I have the Falcons finishing at 3-14, not 13-4. It would not be a last place finish.
God, that would be gross.
Mm-hmm.
I have Tampa Bay 15-2, second seed in the NFC. Well, in the NFC, I was about to say the NFC South. Look, it's another one of those believe when I see it things. I'm not gonna buy into Brady slowing down until I see it.
You don't bet against Tom Brady.
Core still good once Godwin gets healthy. I think Julio Jones will be solid, not like a game breaker, but I mean, you have Julio Jones as a death option. I don't care how old he is. That's interesting.
Exactly.
Russell Gage is a nice pickup. They got rid of Tyler Johnson, which was a little bit surprising. How the tight end position looks is going to be a question mark, but maybe Cam Brate, was serviceable enough. They drafted two guys as well, Cade Otton and Kokeeft. So that's a cool name, Kokeeft. Reminds me of Kofi Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
The defense, the defense can be unpredictable at times, but like they'll make some plays, especially, guys like Levante David, Devin White in particular. But I still think their secondary could use a piece or two, but Antoine Winfield's no slouch. Why am I forgetting the one other name I was thinking about? But they'll be good. I mean, Brady will win them games. No matter what it comes down to, defense, Brady will win them games. It's what he does. Sean Murphy-Bunting was the other name I was thinking about. Yep. Mike Edwards and Carlton Davis aren't slouches either. Jamal Dean has proven his worth. Forgot they had Keanu Neal too, and they drafted Zion McCollum, who was a freak athlete at the combine this past year. At corner, I think he went to like Sam Houston State, but kid ran like a 4.34 40. Tampa Bay 15-2. I have New Orleans at 7-10. I don't know how Mike Thomas is going to be when he comes back. Marcus May got arrested again. Paulson Adebo is hurt.
That's right. I forget. Yeah, you said that.
Things are a little up in the air with the defense, but they did sign Tyrann Mathieu. They have a solid unit there to begin with. Pete Warner is a guy that can break out on defense, I think, for them. They'll be all right, but at the same time, how is Jameis going to do without Teron Armstead? He goes to Miami,
good point. Yep.
Their left tackle, and Jameis, he could be good, throwing touchdowns where he needs to, but he can also be the best at throwing interceptions. So even though he's LASIK Winston these days, I don't have full trust in James Winston, but for having Chris Olave on my dynasty team, I hope he, gets the ball healthy along with Olave. That's all I really care about. But and Kamara, I have no idea what's going on with the Kamara.
I know. I've heard like 40 different
for,
things.
2 or 3 days when it came out. And then I just really haven't heard much since. So I don't know what's going on there from a legal standpoint or if anything's going on. But
the last I heard, he was getting suspended in the middle of the season. I'm like, how is that even a possibility? Like, how do you determine when you just decide to suspend the guy? Like,
no idea. I have Carolina 6-11. I don't know if Christian McCaffrey is going to stay healthy.
Probably not. I bet the house on that.
JC Horn can stay healthy. That's going to be a huge boost with their defense. Jeremy Chin's fantastic. They get Ike Ekwonu on the line and Taylor Moton. I think they either signed him for a few years or they got him on the franchise tag, so they kept the line together and added a legit piece, Ike Ekwonu, even though he got barreled by Kyle Duggar in the preseason.
That's right. Yep.
I think Baker's going to be playing pissed off and he's going to have a decent year, but I just don't think it's going to translate to much more than like 7 wins for the Panthers. So yeah, they're going 6-11 for me. And Marcus, I was high on him coming out of the draft. I still remember those days. Like my aunt turned me into a Ducks fan when she lived out there. So I was high on Marcus. Just hasn't worked out. lack of execution, injury luck. It's just been a tough sledding for him. I think there's a chance Desmond Ridder takes the starter job like halfway towards through the season or towards the later portion. Yeah, it's going to be a bad season. They had Drake London in the draft, but that Falcons team needs a lot of work, and I think they're not going to have a rough one this year.
Yep. I think that's fair to think. All right, so on to the West, the last of the divisions. The NFC West, I have the LA Rams finishing at 13-4 as the 2 seed. The defending Super Bowl champions will not have any sort of Super Bowl hangover, at least in my opinion. Finishing second, I'm very curious to see how Trey Lance works out. I don't know how the Jimmy Garoppolo situation is going to work out. Apparently, according to the reports, Trey Lance is not too happy about it. So maybe there's some turmoil in San Francisco brewing. There's obviously the turmoil with Deebo Samuel and his contract, but that, of course, was figured out. So maybe that's done and gone with. George Kittle is now hurt, apparently, dealing with, was it a back injury I saw today, whatever it might have been. So he's not 100%. I do have the 49ers finishing 11-6, though. I think their defense, and obviously Kyle Shanahan's a decent head coach, will be able to figure some things out. They finish as the 5th seed. Arizona, I have missing the playoffs at 8-9. In Seattle, I am not high on them. I will give them 2 wins. I think they may be able to get some trap games on some people here and there. With Pete Carroll, DK Metcalf still there. You're not very high on Seattle, as we'll get to in a second. I don't know. I just can't bring myself to find a team that doesn't have a win this season, so I'll give Seattle a couple. Like I said, they upset some people and maybe get a win here or there.
I don't know.
You don't think so, though? I spoiled it for you. I'm sorry. To anybody that was really on pins and needles to figure it out, you're not high on the Seahawks at all. They are in full rebuild mode.
The Rams, I have them losing tomorrow night, then winning out because
the rest of the way.
I mean, it's weird, but it's just I went with my gut. I'm not going to overthink it because I'm probably going to be wrong either way somehow because that's just how these go. The Rams are still going to be really good. They lose OBJ. They add Allen Robinson. They could still even sign OBJ. I saw they're still talking to him apparently.
Keep forgetting he's available.
Bobby Wagner. Losing Darius Williams could hurt their secondary, but I don't know. I think they'll find a way to cope. But could end up being a big gap in that cornerback room, but we'll see. Maybe Jalen Ramsey's just gonna have to go extra sicko mode this year. Maybe someone steps up. We know they don't have really tons of draft picks to replenish.
That's true.
So
the time is now to win some Super Bowls. They've already got one.
Yep, that's gonna be interesting. They probably won't bring Eric Weddle back in the mix either, like they did last year.
That's right. Yep.
Arizona 9-8, squeaking into the playoffs. I have San Francisco doing the same at 9-8, squeaking in with the last seed. And I think the Seattle Seahawks are fucking just terrible. Like Pete Carroll means nothing to me when you have Drew Lock and Geno Smith at QB. How effectively are DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett going to be able to operate? They have Dwayne Eskridge as well, young receiver they took high, I think 2 years ago now. Noah Fant. Like, how are these guys going to get the ball consistently enough to put points on the board? I just don't see it. Their defense is bad. First year without Bobby Wagner in ages. Jamal Adams just hasn't really lived up to the hype consistently. They really just have nobody. Like, they really, really don't. Charles Cross is a nice building block in the rebuild in the O-line. Dwayne Brown, I think, actually, no, wait, Dwayne Brown isn't on the team anymore, is he? Didn't Dwayne Brown get signed by the Jets? Yeah, he did get signed by the Jets. So they don't have Dwayne Brown anymore.
Another loss.
More often than not. Pretty good lineman. Ginormous dude. I ran through every single game, the whole simulator. I did not see a win on the schedule for the Seahawks. I
gotta look and see now who I have the Seahawks beating and who I have.
I think there was one I debated on. The Bears were easy. Every pick, I looked at every single game and didn't even debate them beating anybody. But I think there was somebody on the Seahawks like, yeah, maybe they pull that one out. Like,
I know this is all sorts of messed up.
The Falcons, probably not.
There's no way this had me
maybe
pick
the Giants.
Seahawks to win 4 games. What happened here?
I was shocked when I saw you had 4 wins for the Seahawks. And what was your Bears one again?
No, I had
4 wins for the Bears.
4 wins for the Bears and 2 for the. I don't know why the website has on here. I don't know what happened. But the latest thing I have saved has 5-12 for the, or I'm sorry, where did it just go? 4-13 for the Seahawks. That is definitely not, because they, for some reason, picked Seattle to beat Detroit. I didn't do that. And then what was the other one? Oh, they for some reason had the Niners beat Seattle. So yeah, my 2 wins for Seattle comes in week 3 against the Falcons, and I picked one upset. I have them beating the Raiders at home somehow. I think the Raiders have one stupid little slip-up game where they should win, and I picked Seattle to have the upset of the season right there. So there are my 2 wins for the Seahawks. I don't know what I did for the Bears. I don't want to go into it and look because it might be all messed up. But 4 wins for Chicago, 2 for the Bears. You have zeros across the board for both those teams. If there's any Bears and Seahawks fans watching, I'm sorry for, Hold out hope for my prediction, not Mike's.
I wouldn't be surprised if there are plenty of people that feel this way, though. I mean,
it's you labeled it out there. The rosters are not well built in the slightest. They are both teams that are in full rebuilds, and it's not going to be pretty.
It certainly is not. Let's get to playoff predictions, shall we?
Yeah, I'll run through my wild card round. We'll switch off like we did. To start, I have the 5-seed Chiefs taking on the 4-seed Bengals, a rematch of the conference championship game from a year ago. And for the second straight year, the Bengals take down the Chiefs. That dynasty never got off the ground. Denver is the 6th seed taking on Indianapolis as the 3 seed. I have Denver upsetting them. Russell Wilson leads the charge and beats the Colts in Indianapolis. The 7 seed Raiders take on the 2 seed Bills. I have the Bills blowing them out in that game as 2 seed moving on. In the NFC, San Francisco and Philadelphia, the 5 and 4 seeds. I have San Francisco. They edge this one out off of, some more postseason experience. And again, deeper roster there. 6 seed Minnesota taking on the 3 seed Packers. Green Bay wins that one. It's not Minnesota's time just yet. And then the 7 seed Cowboys taking on the 2 seed Rams. I have the Rams winning that one. Dallas's postseason run comes to an end very early once again.
Interesting. I also see their postseason run coming to an end, but just not as soon as you thought. So I have Denver over Indy 5 and 4. The Chargers over the Chiefs 3 and 6. The Bengals over the Raiders, the 2-7 matchup. 5-4 is Minnesota versus Dallas. I have Dallas edging that one out, even though I don't feel good about it. I'm just, I don't know. It's what my gut told me last night. But I could honestly see Minnesota beating them. Arizona against Green Bay, the 6 and the 3 seed. I have Green Bay, and then San Fran 7, Tampa 2. I have Tampa beating San Fran.
All right, so 1 year removed from having maybe Jimmy Garoppolo will be the starter at that point for San Francisco again, but maybe potentially 1 year removed from our Jimmy G versus Tom Brady matchup in the playoffs that we were hoping for and unfortunately did not get. On to the division round, I have the 4-seeded Bengals taking on the 2-seeded Bills. Buffalo beats them. 6-seed Denver taking on the 1-seed Chargers. I have the Chargers winning. In the NFC, 5-1 being the 49ers versus the Buccaneers. I have Brady beating out San Francisco, no matter who the quarterback is at that stage. And then the other matchup, 3 versus the 2, Green Bay versus LA. I have the Rams beating out Aaron Rodgers. His hopes at a Super Bowl once again fall short in the divisional round.
So unfortunate, man.
I know. It never happens either. It's a rare occasion that Green Bay loses that early in the playoffs.
Right. I have the Chargers and the Bengals. My God, would that be fun?
That's going to be an awesome matchup.
I'm going with the Bengals. Experience, a more well-rounded offensive line a little bit. I mean, Chargers have a great offensive line now, too, with Slater and Johnson as the future, namely. Denver, Buffalo, I'm going Buffalo. I mean, they're just the Bills. They're going to be nasty this year. Green Bay versus Tampa Bay. I have Brady beating Rodgers again because that will happen.
And
Dallas versus LA. I think Dallas will get their shit rocked by the Rams in this scenario.
Yep.
So that would be kind of funny to watch. By kind, I mean very funny to watch.
Very funny. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
All right, my conference championship matchups. I have the 2-seed Bills against the 1-seed Chargers, and maybe an upset to some, depending on how people look at it, because I've seen a lot of people picking the Bills to go to the Super Bowl and win. I have the Chargers doing that. They are the AFC representatives in the NFC to rematch Rams and Bucks. This time, I think Brady is able to fully get the W, and it's the Buccaneers going back to the Super Bowl. Brady's going back again. And I'll run through my Super Bowl really quick to round it out. Chargers and Bucks. Tom Brady, fueled maybe again by the Giselle stuff and just, wanting to play football this year and all the rumors and everything, he's going to be pissed off. He's going to win another Super Bowl. Buccaneers all the way.
Damn. I don't know what it is. It's not even like Brady. I can't put the Bucs through this year.
Really? Okay.
It sucks.
Spoiler
I want
alert.
to because that'd be sick. But I have Buffalo over Cincinnati rematch. I have Buffalo pulling it off this year, though. I think it's going to be a revenge year for them. LA versus Tampa Bay. I have LA sadly beating Brady in the Bucs. I think they'll just be too much to handle. And it's going to be one of those games that'll be a shootout, but I think the Rams will pull it off. Will they have an ending like last year? I don't know, but I have the boring one of the two of us. I have the rematch of both matchups from last year, but I have LA repeating this time against Buffalo. I want to pick the Bills. If it gets there,
everyone is picking Buffalo, which means Buffalo
Rams are going to pull it off somehow.
Not going to win.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the Bills are kind of cursed.
A little bit.
They're kind of cursed.
Yeah.
They're kind of cursed. They lost like 4 in a row once.
Mm-hmm.
So,
maybe this is the year they finally figured out.
Would be such a shame to see them almost run the table and then lose in the Super Bowl.
Are you putting the W word or the L word on Buffalo, or is it too early to?
In the Super Bowl?
Oh no, just at the start to see this last kind of prediction thing. I mean, obviously we haven't seen them play yet, so.
Them,
what do you mean the L word?
The L word on what? Like
on just the Bills in general, just being a blank to. Well, obviously they're not a blank to get to win the Super Bowl because you have the Chargers. So maybe a stupid question on my part.
No, I don't think I'm not putting the L word on them, but it's gonna absolutely be them, the Chargers or the Bengals. If anybody else represents them, the AFC and the Super Bowl, I'll be shocked this year. Mm-hmm. But I'm going with the Bills. I think there's gonna be a lot of fuel on the fire this year for them, and they're gonna at least get there. So that's what I'm going with.
Okay. So they take a step, but not the ultimate step.
It's so crazy to me because like every time I think of the Bengals and like this new offensive line, tons of receivers, their defense got marginally better.
That's what I mean. They're better than last year's Super Bowl team. Like
it was like it's one of those games. The Bills and Bengals, you could put them together against each other 10 times this year, and I think it's 5-5. Like,
absolutely, yeah, they're very even teams. I think.
Crazy. Yeah, 5. I mean, like it's just gonna be awesome, and with LA in the mix this year taking a huge jump, it's gonna be fun to watch those teams duke it out at the top of the AFC. Awards time. Speaking of the LA Chargers, you have a certain LA Charger winning MVP this year.
I do. If you couldn't tell by listening and the predictions and everything, I am very high on the Chargers. So I have Justin Herbert as my MVP. Some sleepers, TB12, again, fueled by the fire and the anger or whatever it might be. Might just come out pissed off at the world. And then Joe Burrow, as I mentioned earlier, dark horse candidate as well. For all the reasons you mentioned, great offense, better protection this year. Could very well see him sneaking into the MVP consideration later on in the season as it goes on.
Yeah, I can see that as well. I think pretty much everybody's got to be in the camp of Allen, Herbert, and Burrow.
Yep.
You can never count Brady out, but like it seems like it's going to be one of those guys this year. I don't think it's going to be Mahomes. I'm going Josh Allen. I've just been talking about the Bills. I think it's going to be a fuck you year for Josh Allen. He's just going to go crazy this year. It's Josh Allen, then Burrow, then Herbert for me. That's my top 3.
Okay. On to Offensive Rookie of the Year. I have another receiver taking it home. Maybe a questionable one because, again, the quarterback might be a little iffy there, but George Pickens, everything I've heard out of camp from him or just seen, read about, he looks like an absolute stud. There's obviously a hole in Pittsburgh without Juju there. Someone's going to have to pick up those targets. There really isn't a clear-cut number 1 with Deontay Johnson. Kind of banged up. What is Chase Claypool? Is he a 1 or is he a 2? It's right there for the taking for Pickens. I think he's going to have a monster year there. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Some sleepers, Sky Moore in Kansas City. Again, it's kind of the same thing. There's an opening there. Patrick Mahomes is going to need more weapons. Does he fill that role? And then kind of the same thing with Chris Olave. I think he'll complement Michael Thomas well. But again, the quarterback play is going to be the big thing. Does Jameis Winston go to him often? And, what kind of rapport can they build with one another?
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you on Pickens. I think there's a good chance Kenny Pickett's like the starter by like week 6.
I think, yeah, absolutely.
And he looked really good in the preseason. It's the preseason, but I think Kenny's, super outlandish here, going to be a better quarterback fit, Mitch Trubisky's not the long-term guy. It's Kenny Pickett.
No
and
chance.
I think Kenny's going to be fine. Kind of like a similar Mac Jones type, like the most pro-ready guy right away, I think, of the QBs this year. You could say Desmond Ridder up there too, but, Marcus Mariota is in his way like Mitch Trubisky is right now. So, and also I think, Kenny Pickett's a little bit further ahead in his development probably than Desmond Ridder. I don't think that's super outlandish to say. My sleepers in this case, I feel like are like sometimes like second and third options more so
Exactly.
than
Yep.
sleepers. So like take that as you will. I have Chris Olave and Dameon Pierce.
Dameon Pierce is a good one.
Yeah, I mean, their O-line still needs some work, but it's going to be him and Rex Burkhead. Marlon Mack isn't in the mix. Rex Burkhead is very comfortable being a complimentary guy. I think Dameon Pierce is going to just eat carries this year. Looks pretty good, too. So I like Dameon Pierce as a sleeper.
All right. I think that's a very good pick. And again, for my fantasy team's sake, I hope you're right, because that would help me out a lot as one of my extra running backs that I have. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think it's an obvious one. You and I both have Aiden Hutchinson. Top pick, looks like a stud, has said the right things, has done the right things in camp. He is, I think, our clear-cut favorite. Sleepers for me, Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean. Some other guys that we talked about during the draft, have stood out, could sneak their way in, but I think it's Hutchinson's to lose.
Yeah, I agree. My sleepers I'd put are Dax Hill and Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker, number 1 overall pick, but if Jacksonville is going to get stuff done on defense, they're going to need Darius Williams, their new guy from the Rams, hopefully a big time piece in their secondary, as well as Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen. But I don't know, man. Like it's usually edge rushers or linebackers to win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at Dax Hill. I think there's an opportunity, a big opportunity for the taking there. Why am I forgetting? Jesse Bates could be a really good mentor for him right away.
Mm-hmm.
There's not like Mike Hilton's solid, but he's not a guy that's like a huge threat to Dax Hill. Eli Apple's horrible. Sorry, I got to take any opportunity to shit on Eli Apple.
No, it's not even. It's just a fact at this point that he is just god awful.
Yeah, and Dax Hill's fantastic. He can move around, different schemes. He can play safety or he can play corner. I'm saying outright, Sauce is going to be hard because Sauce is really good, but like he's just going to get everything. Like he's going to get everyone's number 1 receiver.
Yep.
Dax Hill's not going to be that guy like all the time. So I like Dax as a sleeper for a Defensive Rookie of the Year. But I'm going Hutchinson. I think Hutchinson is going to be a double-digit sack guy right away, and he's going to be a wrecking ball. So he's one of those guys. He reminds me of a Bosa, so he's going to be a beast right out of the gate like they were. So,
okay, I think it's very fair and good judgment all around. Offensive Player of the Year, I alluded to him earlier. I think Justin Jefferson is going to have the Cooper Kupp-esque season this year. Just again, that Minnesota offense, new play calling, everything you hear. I think Justin Jefferson is primed for a phenomenal season. Sleepers, you have him as an MVP pick. Josh Allen, the guy he throws to, Stephon Diggs. If Allen's going to win the MVP, he's got to have a guy that's catching all of his touchdowns and catching a lot of his targets. Stephon Diggs could have a Justin Jefferson-esque year last year. And then Deebo Samuel, I kind of have as a dark horse. Again, kind of up in the air with him. Don't really know what his status is. I mean, he is there in San Francisco. But again, it all depends on the quarterback, and they could maybe use him in different schemes and packages and stuff too that would benefit him as a potential Offensive Player of the Year candidate.
Absolutely. I'm going Jamar Chase because
I like that pick.
Tons of time for Joe Burrow to throw most likely this year. Jamar could hit 2K yards this year, even with T. Higgins. I think he's going to be right around 1900 this year. It's Jamar Chase. I think he's just ridiculous. And Justin Jefferson is going to be right there with him. It's so cool to see 2 guys who tore up LSU that are going to be like the 2 best receivers in the league for a while, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm throwing Deebo Samuel in the mix too. For a guy like Trey Lance who can move and he's got some arm strength, he's gonna need a crutch. And for a guy that was already nasty last year, for a guy that might, for a guy in Trey Lance who might need to rely on Deebo even more than Jimmy did, I like Deebo's upside a lot to win Offensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
And if San Fran goes on a run and Deebo goes sicko mode, I like Debo to potentially sneak in the MVP mix. So.
I could definitely see that. Yeah, again, it all depends on how they use him. And like you said, I think that a perfect word for it was a crutch for Trey Lance, just a guy he knows he can go to over and over again, and he's going to be there because he was last year and obviously was a huge help in that postseason run for San Francisco, doing everything he did as, the dual threat weapon that he was.
Indubitably. Defensive player of the year is next.
Yeah, we are both in agreement on this one as well. TJ Watt, again, it's kind of one of those awards where it's TJ Watt's to lose. For sleepers for me, and again, I think Khalil Mack's going to have a great year in LA, so maybe he sneaks into it. And then Micah Parsons, obviously won Defensive Rookie of the Year last year. Maybe he finds his way into Defensive Player of the Year and helps a Cowboys team where there's some kind of question marks with that team going forward.
Yeah, I'm going TJ Watt as well. TJ Watt's just ridiculous. He's the best player off the edge in the league. Aaron Donald is going to be in the mix. Myles Garrett will be in the mix. Micah Parsons. But it's TJ Watt. He's just ridiculous. I got to go with him.
Okay. Comeback player of the year. You and I both have Derrick Henry. I think that's a good pick to have. For me, I feel like you probably feel the same way. He's probably going to have to carry that offense like he has in the past. You saw how much that team struggled without him last year. He pretty much is that entire offense. So good choice there for comeback player of the year. For sleepers, for me, I have Saquon. Kind of the same thing. I feel like that New York offense hinges around him. And then Michael Thomas is an interesting one to keep an eye on. I flip-flop between him and Jameis Winston, because again, Jameis Winston's going to be the guy that's throwing him all the touchdown passes, but a lot of people seem high on Michael Thomas this year. So I will go with the crowd and go with the majority and think Michael Thomas will put his name in consideration for comeback player of the year.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I have my questions about Henry this year. Well, it's going to hold up well for him, the injury recovery and all that stuff, and if he's going to stay healthy. But I'm going with Henry when he's on top of his game and he's healthy. He's just ridiculous. It's like nothing we've ever really seen at the position. McCaffrey, another guy that struggles with injury troubles for like 10 games the last 2 years. And Michael Thomas, could easily be Jameis's number one guy right away and go off. So we'll see what happens with him. He's kind of an enigma these past 2 years. I'd like to throw Juju Smith-Schuster in the mix too.
That's a good one. Yep.
Games last year. Good chance he's Mahomes' number one guy in the receiver position. So I'm throwing Juju Smith-Schuster in there as well. I don't think he'll win, but he'll be in the mix.
That is a solid choice. I never even considered. I kind of keep forgetting about that Juju's in Kansas City and it's kind of taken over. I mean, not officially, or we'll have to wait and see, but kind of is that bargain bin discount brand Tyreek Hill type of thing. See if that works out for him there. I mean, he's gonna, like you said, get a ton of opportunities. Is probably going to be the number one in Kansas City. For coach of the year, I have Brandon Staley again, high on the Chargers. I think if they can make a run, he wins it. Some sleepers though, Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia, especially if they can win that division and dethrone the Cowboys. And then Kevin O'Connell, you've mentioned him a couple of times. Just if the Vikings can make a run in that division and maybe put some pressure on Green Bay, first year guy there, I think could definitely have some consideration for coach of the year.
100%. Yeah, Staley. Every time I think of him, I think of the fourth down shit.
The F up, funny. Yeah. Yep. That's why it was very tough for me to feel like, if I'm going to stick with the Chargers, I'll ride it out with as many Chargers as I can. And like I said, if they can make a trip to the Super Bowl, then especially after the year they had last year and how it ended, could definitely see it being the case.
Yeah. Pete Prisco had a really, really funny story on PMT today talking about his dad calling him once. He's like, who's this fucking 17-year-old on the Chargers calling this stupid shit on fourth down?
Christ.
That's just funny. It's funny if you hear the accent he puts on his dad's voice as well. I'm going Sean McDermott because I'm very high on the Bills this year to get them in a position to go to the Super Bowl and really put together his best season as Bills head coach. I think he'll be in the mix. I have Staley and O'Connell as some other candidates as well. Sirianni could definitely be in the mix. But for my predictions, I don't have the Eagles making the playoffs, so I couldn't really put him directly in the mix. But
fair enough.
If they do make the playoffs, he'll absolutely be in the mix. So it's one of those things.
Yep, we will have to wait and see. Again, these predictions are all going to be 100% correct. Neither of us will be wrong, even though we have multiple different picks for each award. Yeah. So
we have different picks, but they'll all be right.
They're all it's all going to be joint awards this year. We're going to have 20 different teams make the playoffs because we have different teams making the playoffs here and there. 2 Super Bowl winners. Everyone gets a trophy. Everything's going to be great. Real quick, just for the sake of time, because we're getting to the end of it here. Not going to do a huge Patriots-Dolphins Week 1 preview. Just any thoughts on the game, anything you're really looking forward to. Obviously, from an injury report standpoint, Jacoby Myers, Isaiah Wynn, and Ty Montgomery were all limited to practice today for the Patriots, so that'll be something to keep an eye on. The Dolphins had a lengthy list, but Jalen Waddle is the biggest name there. He's been dealing with a lower body injury. We kind of talked about it. The big thing I think for you and I is, how are you going to stop the two-headed monster of him and Tyreek Hill? Can the Patriots finally figure it out in South Beach? Their last 5 games down there, they're 1-4. Their one win, I think, was a 44-0 win. So, that's kind of an outlier there. They've outscored the Dolphins. That 44, like I said, nothing game helps that, but they have really struggled in Miami. Any thoughts on the game? Anything you're really looking forward to, or it's some things that stand out to you?
I'm not looking forward to all the tweets anytime the Patriots do something bad. It's like, oh no, the Patriots always lose in Miami. Like everybody's just gonna hop on that. But like, oh yeah, you're really putting this groundbreaking information in the world. Thanks
exactly.
So
this is something that hasn't been known, for the last, like I said, 5 matchups in 5+ years.
Like you included earlier, like new blood in this team. You got Chase Edmonds, who's gonna add another dimension to that running game. I think underrated back. Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle's poised for a breakout. I think I even like Cedric Wilson as a depth receiver.
He kind of is the forgotten about man, I feel like.
Yeah, Raheem Mostert's like shown in the past when he's healthy, like can rattle off some big games here and there. I like the new look offense that, unfortunately for Sony Michel's sake, does not involve him. He was in the mix at one point. He's now back to the other LA team, not the Rams, but the Chargers. Teron Armstead's so huge. Of course, like every time I think of a big left tackle, I think of protecting a right-handed throwing QB, but he's on Tua's offside because, Tua's a lefty. So, but still just a huge offensive line addition to a team that needs it. Melvin Ingram and Trey Flowers, two guys on the older side, but they had to trade Flowers like last week. Melvin Ingram is still solid. He showed that with the Chiefs last year. I like the team. Is this team going to have Mike Gesicki on it by early November? I don't know, but they'll make some noise this year. But I mean, they're 7-10. They're a 7-10 team to me, maybe 8-9. So I'm looking forward to the game. Just going to be exciting to have football back. We'll see what happens.
Just going to say, looking forward to football. Yep.
Byron Jones being out is big. It takes a big piece out of their secondary, so hopefully the Patriots can take advantage. But I don't think they will. I think they'll lose 22-16 to the Dolphins.
I have 24-20 Dolphins. Again, it's just there's too many. We talked about it enough at the start of the show and throughout. There's too many questions with this Patriots team. You mentioned it. If you had a legitimate offensive coordinator and didn't have all these problems you had in the preseason, then these games at the start of the year, and especially this one, might look a little bit clearer. We might even favor the Patriots in it. But right now, there's just too many things up in the air. Can't say it enough, too, that the Patriots always take this first couple weeks as an extended preseason. I know it's the cliche thing to say, but that's what they do. So this is a game where I think you get the typical trying to figure things out. And it's not going to be pretty, and the Dolphins end up squeaking this one out.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. It's going to be a little bit of filling out process early on in a situation that we haven't really been used to. So
going to try to not be so negative, but you can only go for so long before things start to crack and
it could be bad.
Fall apart.
It could, like Hill and Waddle could just torch this new secondary. It might not be close, but I'm giving the Patriots the benefit of the doubt. They'll figure something out and keep it close. Maybe win, but I don't think so.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it's going to start on a damper, but one of those.
I'm with you though. Just happy to have football back, and
me too.
Back talking about that again. Yeah, absolutely.
Rams tomorrow is going to be awesome. Holy smokes! Very excited.
I'm still not high on this last thought. Like, I don't know if you feel the same way. I was talking to a guy at work the other day about starting the year off on Thursday Night Football just has never been something that I feel right with. Like, I feel like it should start Sunday, especially the defending Super Bowl champion. Like, you should be playing Sunday, Monday night. Like, not the Thursday game kind of gets thought of as a throwaway game halfway through the season. Like, so I don't know. Maybe it's just a soapbox type of thing for me. I'm glad you're in agreement with me. So maybe there's some other people listening that feel the same way too and can heed our complaints.
Yes. Couple quick notes I forgot to mention in moments of the week.
Oh, that's right.
Before we wrap up, JT Miller, switching to hockey for like 2 minutes here. Stays in Vancouver, 7/56. Didn't expect that to happen at the time it did. He gets 7 years. We'll see what happens with Bo Horvat now in the future, but I think they're going to try and keep both long term, see how that ages. Not sure it'll age well. But Bo Horvath's that captain. They love him. He loves it there. So I imagine that's their next priority long term. Kirby Dach signs on Montreal for 4x13.45. More than he's worth. You know, we kind of talked about that was the reported price range last week, around 3.5. He gets a little bit, I think that's less than that or more than that. Might be like 3.6, doing the math in my head, but I could totally be wrong. He signs 4x13.45 Montreal. Could end up being a nice piece of business. And Tim Stützle signs 8x66.8 with the Ottawa Senators. A little bit early. You know, I think Stützle's got some, you know, proving to do still, but I think if he trends the way he should, I think that deal will be worth it, if not close to worth it. So those are the big news points from the NHL this past week. Nothing really going on with the Bruins too crazy. But yeah, some tidy business being put pen to paper. Now we just wait for Jason Robertson. That's the big RFA domino to fall now. They need a little bit more cap space to accommodate him once the season comes around. I think they only have 6.5. He's probably going to get more than that unless he gets a cheap bridge deal. So that's hockey, but we'll have more once preseason rolls around on the 24th. So we'll have some Bruins preseason stuff to preview, storylines, stuff like that, and you know, some like quick game recaps for postseason stuff if anything cool happens, if Fabian Lysell does anything crazy or whatever. But yeah, there's some quick hockey at the end. A huge football episode, as it should be, because you know we're starting tomorrow night. We got a little bit of a taste of college football last week. Unfortunately, my Eagles lost in somewhat embarrassing fashion to the Rutgers. What even is Rutgers? The Red? I don't know what the Trojans. I don't know what Rutgers is. That's kind of embarrassing, but they lost to Rutgers by a point. That kind of stunk. But that's gonna wrap it up for episode 110. A huge football episode with tons of correct predictions. So, like we said, that's gonna be good for you guys. You can just look back on this episode fondly. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us on Twitter. You can follow me at Mike_Cratty, Brian at Salvaggio. Excuse me. And the show at Salvaggio and Cratty Pod. You can throw Salvaggio and Cratty into the search bar on TikTok. Find us there. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can check out my TikTok, by the way. I posted a funny one about the Maple Leafs. Yeah, you can rate a review, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can download the Full Press Coverage app. Check out all the Full Press Coverage socials. Check out other content besides ours as well. It's good stuff. And stay safe, stay healthy, be nice to people, enjoy football. If you're drinking on Sunday or tomorrow night, don't drink and drive. That would be dumb. Don't do that. Be responsible this weekend. Be responsible tomorrow night. And we'll talk to you next week, episode 111, football. Hopefully the Patriots win. And yeah, we'll talk to you then. Peace out.